Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the life and suffering of Prince Jerian. So, in the last episode, we finally started working on the bill in order to pass rights within the Empire. However, things kind of took a bit of a turn because, of course, I didn't have enough power for certain things, and yeah, that's gonna leave us in a bit of a pickle. I do believe that the Archnians pretty much have their immunity as they had before, but yeah, we just kind of ended up in a tight spot, and if I wouldn't have spent some points in certain other points, then I would have had the ability to do certain things. But we do have 10 right now, so maybe that can kind of help us along. I can't remember whether it was 5 or 10 points that was required in the last couple choices that we made, but we have a few, so we'll see what we can do going forward. Anywho, a restless spirit. It's a quiet evening. You're strolling through an empty palace hallway, stretching your legs after hours spent reviewing petitions and denunciations. As you pass by the gilded doors of the throne room, you hear a faint sound, as if someone is gently plucking strings. One of the guards opens the door for you. You step into the dimly lit room. Candle flames flicker. Deep inside the chamber, a slender figure seated on a throne bleeds through the shadows. Long fingers slide along a black fretboard. A foot in an elegant shoe sways to the rhythm of the music. A sorrowful song spills across the room like a slow current. The marble floors and columns reflect the sound, making it even more soulful. Your brother Flavius sits on the throne, playing the mandolin you gave him for his birthday. His gentle tenor weaves into the littling melody. Where whispering winds weave dreams in a glade, where roses glow in the twilight shade, there's silence that you can't escape, and nary a door to be found. The water reflects a smile not my own, on a stranger's face the deep night has shown, and every step carries the tone of change dragging on the ground. Flavius's figure is framed by a purple glow. Soft plumes of light drift through the room, swirling like leaves in the wind. The singing suddenly ends, and the little flames burn out, leaving only ash behind. Flavius has noticed you. Ah, it's you, brother. It's a silly song, isn't it? I overheard it from a drunken brewer at a tavern, and today I happened to stumble across your mandolin, and well, it jogged my memory somehow. Flavius awkwardly pushes the instrument under the throne. A moment later, the faint, sorrowful confusion vanishes from his face, replaced by the mocking smile you know so well. Your brother takes out a cigarette holder and lights up with relish. You tell your brother, somewhat awkwardly, that his singing was wonderful. It's such a shame you rarely get a chance to enjoy his talents. Flavius lets out a thoughtful hum, his eyes wandering. I've always wanted... Flavius cuts himself off mid-sentence and purses his lips in frustration, looking past you. You hear the shuffling of footsteps and an old man's grunt from the doorway. Grimmest Knight, Terentius Ogriff, enters the throne room. He's staring daggers at your brother. That's quite enough. You have crossed every possible line with your blasphemous antics, Prince Flavius. Do you not understand that such a frivolous attitude toward your cursed gift is ruinous, both for your soul and for the reputation of the Tempests? You notice a purple glint in Flavius's eyes. His lips stretch in a nasty smirk. Did the way I handle the ceremony not please you, Terentius? The grace a primate bestows upon his subjects, the love, pleasure, and bliss poured into their souls by the will of a tempest, our flock filled with passion and reverence. Enough. The debauched orgy you saw fit to hold in the palace chapel has nothing to do with the twins, much less their divine grace. You know this as well as I do, Prince Flavius. Ogriff shoots Flavius a withering glare before turning to you. Unconcealed rage smolders in the dark chasms of his eyes. Jerian, we had hoped for the power of the blood tide, but your ancestors cannot curb the prince's depraved nature. I demand that the silver collar be returned to Flavius's neck. You demand? I am a tempest. Divine blood flows through my veins. This whole world belongs to me, and after death, the twins will take my soul to the peak, turning a blind eye to any sacrilege. You have no right to demand anything, Terentius. You have nothing to offer me, and nothing to threaten me with. Godless wretch, you're nothing but a vapid, bitter little boy. There is nothing in your heart but hollow cynicism. I thank the twins every day that, in their infinite mercy, they've protected the Empire from having to suffer under your rule. Oof. Violet sparks flash in Flavius's eyes. They burn brighter and brighter, the whites flooding with purple flame. The candles in the wall scones are snuffed out. The chandelier on the ceiling trembles, letting out a frightened jingle. Flavius rises from the throne, his sharp features burning with malice. You addle-pated priest, do you think it was my choice to be born marked by magic and wear a collar throughout my childhood? Do you think I wanted to inspire fear and contempt in everyone around me? You don't know the first thing about me. You don't know how much power I have to restrain every second just to stop myself from crushing your head like a rotten nut. With each word from Flavius, the chandelier rattles louder. The windows fly open, the curtains flap and billow toward the ceiling. Ogre's face freezes into a dark mask. His fingers clutch the symbol of the faith. His eyes fill with boiling mercury and start oozing cold silver light. The air around the Pontifex thickens and crackles, flashing with white sparks. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave. I don't want no part of this. Let's see. Well then. So, I can support Ogriff. If I do so, I will lose some love, I will get some scholarship, and I will get +1 with Terentius Ogriff. That might be helpful in the future. If I support Flavius, I will get +5 to the Legacy of the Tempests. I will lose some logic and get some diplomacy and get +1 with Flavius. Or I can just leave and I'll get some will and I'll get some management. I'm probably gonna go ahead and do this, not necessarily because I want to side with Flavius in this situation, but it's more so I just want the points. If it wasn't for the points, I wouldn't do this, but yeah. So, sorry, Ogriff. Your tone is harsh as you address Ogriff. How dare he raise his voice when speaking to a Tempest? How dare he give orders to insult and oppose the will of a prince? Flavius is a Tempest. The silver blood of the gods flow through his veins. He is as much a ruler of this world as any other member of your bloodline. Ogriff recoils, and you can almost hear his knees creak as they buckle. The mercury vanishes from the Pontifex's eyes. The silver light dissipates. His face suddenly looks deathly pale as his wrinkled cheeks seem to sink in. Forgive me, Your Highness. I shouldn't have. Flavius breaks into a smile. The purple flame in his eyes dies down. Your brother looks at Terentius with a mocking smirk. It seems you've forgotten that the twins aren't the only brothers you serve, Pontifex. But we are more merciful than the gods. We may forgive you if you beg us from the bottom of your heart. On your knees, Terentius. White as a sheet, Ogriff gives you both a long, sorrowful look and sinks to his knees. Flavius slaps the Pontifex's balding head with a wet smack. That's more like it, you old fool. Come, Jerian. I want to bestow my grace upon a few more parishioners tonight. Let us find bliss between the twins and grant the ladies ecstasy at the peak of the shining pillar. I assure you, brother, you will enjoy both my flock and my rights. Good God. The things I do for power. Union of Two Hearts. Sunshine gilds the frames of the massive portraits hanging in the gallery of the Summer Palace. You've come here to visit your father, and you're taking a leisurely stroll by the paintings now that all the news has been discussed. Your father looks rested and invigorated for the first time in a long while. They brought me a rare bird from the sea. It has the sharpest, thinnest beak. I feed it live fish. Just toss it up in the air and the bird snatches it right up, swallowing it whole. Can you imagine? As Uther waxes on, your eyes land on a portrait of the young imperial couple. Your parents are shown standing side by side. The Uther from the painting looks detached and lost in thought, while Servilia is the picture of cold solemnity. You ask why your mother never visits Uther at the summer palace. Well, you see, different birds have different habitats. Some live by the sea, while others prefer the woods or the mountains. Let's head back. I'm getting a bit peckish. You nod and follow your father, holding back all the questions brewing in your mind. Was there ever any love between your parents? Or is the Emperor's marriage just a nod to tradition and the Empire's political interests? Is this what the future holds for you too? One of the paintings is hidden beneath a length of fabric. You tug at the corner of the cover in curiosity, but your father suddenly lets out a pitiful wail. Don't, please. Uther's face contorts in torment, but the fabric is already sliding down. Familiar faces look back at you from the canvas. Your grandfather, Primus I, is sitting on a high throne, a determined look on his face, his eyes cold and shrewd. He is surrounded by his children, Gaius, Cornelius, and Uther. Your father is still young and full of vigor. His head is held high in a display of willfulness, and his passionate eyes seem to burn through the canvas. Young Cornelius and Gaius look at Uther with admiration. As you examine the portrait, the picture seems to come to life. The frame widens, swallowing up the whole gallery and dragging you inside. You can hear voices from afar. You blink and the throne room in the old fortress comes into focus. The throne is hard and uncomfortable against your back. Your ringed fingers grip the armrest. Your eldest son and heir, Uther, stands before you. The younger Gaius and Cornelius hover a bit further away, casting frightened, cautious looks at you. A young Servilia Monroe stands next to you, her arms crossed, her hair is pulled back into a strict bun, and her eyes are boring holes into Uther. The servants have fallen into a respectful silence. Their figures look somewhat blurry to you. You hear the raspy, stern voice of Emperor Primus I. Your voice. I demand that you stop this tomfoolery at once. You leaving the court is out of the question. Father, please, do we have to have this conversation in front of everyone? I can explain my decision in private. People announce their decisions in secret only if said decisions are shameful. I order you to speak here and now. What is this foolish whim? It's not a whim, Father. I've spent days thinking it over. My rule would only cause suffering, both to myself and the Empire. Cornelius should take my place. He'll inherit your throne and enter the bond of matrimony with Servilia. As for me, I will join the Holy Order, where I will come to know the twins and serve them. It will be better for everyone. Good God, that would have been better for everyone. Don't you dare lie to me. This is not about any spiritual pursuits or your alleged concerns for the future of the Empire. Your heart is simply poisoned by your illicit affair with that Metellus boy. Servilia told me everything, but I won't let you run away. Uther looks up in defiance. His resolute eyes burn you like fire. His voice, clear and steady, infuriates you. I'm the only one who gets to decide how I live my life. Your wishes don't matter a whit, nor do your decisions. You are the heir to the throne, a servant of our blood, and a primate of the twins, Uther Tempest. Your will is worthless in the face of your duties. You will marry and sire a son. You will ascend the throne and rule this country. You will maintain the law of the gods and spread their grace. That is your only fate. Father, please listen to me. No. You will swear right now that you will leave Metellus forever and marry Servilia Monroe, and when the time comes, you will take the Emperor's throne and rule over this realm. Swear an oath, or I'll have Gnaeus executed today. You get up from the throne. Blood rushes to your face. The stiff collar feels too tight around your neck. You clench your teeth, overcome with contempt for this foolish, arrogant boy. The world around you freezes for a moment as you separate from your ancestor. Primus watches and addresses you from the depths of your blood. Love and intimacy are a refuge for the weak. As a Tempest, you bear the burden of greatness. Your duty is your gods, your family, and your empire. That is why you must surrender your own feelings, impulses, and desires. You were born to serve a purpose much greater than yourself or your personal happiness. Take my word and accept my legacy. Punish the one who has forsaken his duties and dared to go against his fate. Nah, that's not happening. Oh, damn, but that's 10 legacy points. Oh, crap. So I can embrace Primus. You will accept Primus's legacy and make Uther swear an oath. I will get 10 legacy of the Tempest's point. I will lose 3 will and get 3 blood. And my relationship with Uther will go down by 1, but I mean, it's already maxed out, so meh. Or I can reject Primus. You will not stand for Primus's cruelty. You will reject his legacy. I'll get 1 love, but it's already maxed out, so that's pointless. And I'll get 1 relationship with Uther Tempest, also pointless because it's maxed out. Or I could reject them both. You will not stand for either Primus's cruelty or Uther's childish whims. I will lose 5 of the legacy of Tempest. Spoiler alert, not doing this. I will gain +1 will and -1 to the blood, and I will get 1 diplomacy. I am so sorry, Father, but I am going to embrace Primus. I don't want to, but I have already made 1 gigantic mistake when it comes to these points, and I would rather have the resources to try to make up for it with the rest of the decisions that I got. I really wanted to have the Archnians not have immunity at the very least, but here we are. So sorry, Dad, but yeah. You and Primus act as one being as you strike Uther across the face with all your might. Gaius jerks forward to check on his brother, but Cornelius puts a cautionary hand on his shoulder. Your firstborn son's cheek has a gash where your signet ring came into contact with his skin, but when Uther looks up at you, his eyes are full of challenge. The next blow brings the insolent boy to his knees. You send for a wet whip. The courtiers stand there motionless in reproachful silence. Servilia looks away. Swear, or Matthias will be executed. I swear. Speak up. I swear. I'll stop seeing Nias and I'll do my duty as heir. Always. I don't know about that. You grip the rigid whip a servant has just handed to you. Uther's lips tremble as he watches you with tears in his eyes. Lash after lash, you beat the pride and foolishness out of the insolent boy, along with his muffled screams. The throne room ripples and grows murky, as if someone had disturbed the surface of a lake. Your head spins. People's faces blur together before dissolving into mist. Eventually, the world rearranges itself, and you find yourself back in the gallery with your father. Jerian, are you alright? Uther touches your arm, but you jerk back. Revulsion and disgust rise from the depths of your blood, urging you to leave the summer palace at once. With a clipped goodbye to your father, you head outside and give the order for your carriage to be readied. Yeah, sorry, Dad. I mean, honestly, if I was in this situation, I don't know. I mean, I kind of understand his dad's, opinion about certain things, that he's destined to rule and such. But at the same time, he just seems like he doesn't want to do it, and I don't know if you could have forced him to do it, especially with the whole Archnian blood thing that makes him so prideful and such. I feel like that was just a recipe for disaster. Whereas Cornelius, I don't know him as a kid, but he seemed like he's always been ready to rule and do the politicking and such. And on top of that, Servilia, I think, liked him. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. But again, this is like when I play Crusader Kings, I tend to, raise my kids with whomever their spouses are going to be. I don't think I've ever had any situations where that turned out wrong, except for the one time. I always joke about this one time where I put my wife in there, and she ended up doing some stuff behind my back in the game and like put me on the throne, and I did not want to be on the throne. A war ensued. Things happened. It was terrible. But anywho. An unannounced audit. The secret chancellery archives are unusually busy. Archnians in the livery of a great house Ogrif swiftly transport binders of documents to a long desk in the corner of the hall, where their contents are meticulously combed through. The central nexus of the commotion is Lucretia. At the moment, she is instructing a secretary in a rather animated manner. Once she notices you, she smiles, fixes her hair, and hurries over to greet you. Ah, Jerian, I knew you would come. I'm doing something very important here. Marcius, it's so good to see you here as well. I need your help. We can't seem to find something. You loudly order the men to halt all operations and stop the inspection. Lucretia smiles, disappears. I've been saying Lucrezia. You announce that you have come to the secret chancellery on Marcius Milanatus' request in order to sort out this sudden unauthorized incursion. You ask Lucrezia to explain why she and her entourage are in the archives and on what grounds they are rummaging through secret documents. The secret chancellery is the domain of secrecy and unfettered action. I know this because our blood knows it. My forefathers built this ministry to serve the Tempests, to safeguard their power and their lives. Agents of the secret chancellery are watching over you to keep you safe, Jerian. But who is watching the Watchers? With all due respect, Lady Lucrezia, you have neither grounds for suspicion nor authority to conduct this inspection. That's where you're wrong, Marcius. I'm conducting this inspection as the future Empress and an Archnian of the Ogrif bloodline. The secret chancellery is my forefathers' legacy, and the voices of my blood must know how well a scion of House Milanatus is handling it. Your story is touching, but utterly irrelevant. Your blood gives you absolutely no right to barge into the secret chancellery as though it were your family home. As long as I hold the post of the privy councillor, you will respect my office. Lucrezia does not even look at Marcius. She walks up to you, full of confidence, and stands beside you as though it were her natural place. She speaks again, now in a hushed tone. These words are for your ears only. House Milanatus is not known for its exceptional loyalty to the throne, Jerian. The Empire is still reeling from the policies Tarquinius enacted when he was the Great Chancellor. You have to know that the secret chancellery is loyal to you and is acting in the best interests of the Tempests. Marcius turns pale. His hand reaches for the hilt of his rapier. It's hard to tell if his ire is a reaction to Lucrezia's accusations or if the Privy Councillor truly has something to hide. Should House Ogrif take possession of confidential information held by the secret chancellery, you can expect those secrets to become public knowledge throughout the Empire the very next day. Jerian, would you please restrain Lucrezia and tell her to get out of my archives? Ooh, well then. So, we can side with Lucrezia. Council obedience will go down by 1. That's exactly what I want. Lucrezia's opinion will go up by 1. I am not sure if it's already maxed out, but I think it is. And Marcius Milanatus will go down by 1, and it'll still keep it within sympathy range, so that's not bad. I can support Milanatus. If I do that, his opinion of me will go up by 1. That's it. I can conduct the inspection personally. If I do this, the power of the Tempests will go up by 1. My logic will go up by 1. I think it's already maxed out. And both Lucrezia and Marcius will go down by 1 as far as opinions go. Or I can have the Chancellor handle the inspection. If I do this, the council obedience will go up by 1 and my management will go up by 1 as well. So I'm not doing either one of these. I think I'm going to do this because I want the council obedience to go down. This will put it at council disobedience. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to the Shattered Council, but yeah. Plus, I don't want to spend the points for this. So, Lucrezia, my dear, please handle this. Again, this is one of those weird things where, again, like, you don't want to consult me about this, we're kind of nice with each other. Why don't you consult me about these things instead of just doing shit? You assure the Privy Councillor that there is nothing to worry about. Lucrezia's assistants will be in and out as quickly as they can. and he will garner a new level of trust from the throne for the trouble. You order Milanatus to stand down and let the audit proceed. As of now, it is being carried out under your authority as the heir and the great censor. The former order will follow shortly. Milanatus gives you a curt bow and leaves silently, followed by the grim-faced agents of the secret chancellery. Over the course of the following week, House Ogriff's secretaries scour the thousands of pages in the archives, only to discover nothing questionable or objectionable. In the end, Lucrezia is forced to admit that her suspicions of Marcius were misplaced. She formally apologizes to the Privy Councilor. However, it doesn't escape you that the tension between them is mounting, and suspicion is only continuing to grow. And now we are at 2, and Council Disobedience. I'm guessing I'm gonna get hit with an event. We're gonna halfway through chapter 4, or just about halfway through. Holy Order. The main hall of the Inquisition capital is packed. The air is thick and stale. You sit in the front row of the amphitheater, awaiting the tribunal against the Holy Order. The elder and the younger, eternal witnesses, look down upon the proceedings from the mural on the dome above. The Pontifex Maximus has insisted on your presence, for today's case concerns not only ecclesiastical matters, but also the rights of the Tempests. The accused is brought into the hall, a young man bound hand and foot in heavy chains. His shirt hangs loosely on his frail frame, and though he stumbles as he walks, he holds himself with stubborn dignity. His pale, haggard face is calm, with no trace of fear in his eyes. Terentius Ogriff takes the stand. The voice of the Pontifex Maximus fills the hall, stirring the still air. Your Highness, brothers in faith, the Holy Order was established by Eric the Pious in the year of the coming of the twins. From that day forward, the Tempests, as the emperors and primates, have held the right to appoint the Magister in accordance with both imperial and ecclesiastical law. Yet the holy warriors, led astray under the leadership of Gnaeus Matthias, violated that law. The knights elected a new Magister from their own ranks without seeking the Tempests' leave. The accused, Brother Bernard, usurped command of the order, and for this he must be judged by the tribunal. The youth remains perfectly composed, his childlike face showing the conviction and resolve of one far older. The order admits its guilt. I do not deny that we broke the law, disobeyed our shepherds, and acted against our charter. We are guilty as charged. Clear and resonant, Bernard's voice captures the attention of everyone in attendance. The youth looks at the Inquisitors, then the rows of onlookers, and then fixes his eyes firmly on you. But the order is more than its walls, books, or prayers. It is a brotherhood that lives through faith, labor, and the defense of those in need. We are no rebels, nor do we wish to disturb the world order. We simply serve the spirit of the law as opposed to its letter. When Brother Matthias left the order, I was elected Magister because the army had need of a leader, and the flock a guardian. We now appeal to the brothers of the Inquisition and the Crown Prince to recognize our choice and our right to name our own commander. That will suffice. The accused has admitted his guilt, and the Church has no reason to disbelieve him. He seeks to serve the twins as his heart leads him, yet the gods command otherwise. All must know and accept their lot, setting aside their desires and their will. Not only have the Knights of the Order violated the sacred charter, they have also infringed upon the rights of the Tempests. Your Highness, I request that Brother Bernard and all the knights who have rebelled against their oath and your authority be executed. Bernard faces the high podium, his eyes fixed defiantly on Terentius, a boy against an old man. Not one muscle moves on the young Magister's face as the Pontifex Maximus delivers his demand. You search the accused man's eyes for an answer. Does Bernard know that Junius Diamant is guiding the new believers to the foot of the pillar? Can someone so blinded by false teachings remain at the head of the Holy Order? Ogriff turns towards you, awaiting your judgment. Okay, so we can execute Bernard. Well, no, we can't, because I am not using any sanity. But one of those options will be to execute Bernard. You will sentence Bernard to death and appoint a new magister from the ranks of the Old Believers. That would have incurred +1 with the Old Faith and -4 with the New Faith clergy. -2 for jurisprudence. Bernard would have been executed. Terentius Ogriff would have went up by 1, and Gnaeus Mateus would have went down by 1. I can replace the magister. You will name a noble loyal to the throne to serve the new magister. The Old Faith will go down by 1. The New Faith clergy will go down by 2. The human nobility will go up by 1. And the power of the Tempests will go up by 1. Management will go up by 1. And Bernard would be stripped of his rank. And if I'm willing to spend 5 of these Tempest points, I can approve Bernard as magister. The Old Faith clergy will go down by 4. Equality will go up by 1. Bernard will become the magister. Terentius Ogriff will go down by 1. It's already terrible. Marcius Milanatus will also go down to 1. And Gnaeus Mateus will go up to 1. Decisions. I kind of want to do this, but I've been losing a lot of points with the New Faith clergy already, so I really don't want to do this. Plus, on top of that, I think the human nobility might already be maxed out, and if it's not, then it's 19. As far as the power of the Tempests go, I would like for it to be higher, but I mean, at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to a good point without having to spend something else. Management, meh. And I don't know what the Bernard being stripped of the Magister ranks will do later on. So I'm going to spend the 5 points and approve Bernard as Magister. You remind the assembly that your ancestors established the Holy Order to defend the land and the lives of the faithful. If the Order needs a Magister to carry out its duty, the rigid letter of the law cannot restrain its spirit. By your will as a Tempest, you recognize Brother Bernard as Magister and grant the Order the right to elect its own leaders. The hall erupts with outraged shouts from the Old Believers. The dragons of the Tempests speak through your lips, and no one dares to object. You silence the grumbling of the Inquisitors with the voice born of your blood, commanding the Old Believers to submit to the will of the Primate. The Pontifex Maximus dispassionately gathers his papers and walks away from the podium without a glance in your direction. Bernard smiles sincerely at you. Thank you, Your Highness. I pledge to uphold the justice of the law that burns in my heart. May the twins watch over you. Bernard is freed of his chains as the Old Believers murmur in discontent. Refracted through the windows, the gleam of the shining pillar dances over his beaming face. Standing in the doorway, the Pontifex Maximus glares at you from beneath his bushy eyebrows. Man. So, we got that point with the New Faith. We can get 2 more, then, well, we need 3 more in order to become allied, so... And equality is getting close to being towards the rise of equality. Which is going to be ironic considering the fact that the Arctians are going to have immunity. So, gonna need this 20 points to carry me for a while. This event is triggered by your previous actions. The pilgrimage triggered. Dangerous liaisons. You lean back in your chair enjoying the evening. The fire crackles cozily in the fireplace as teasing aromas of delicacies drift through the room. This dinner is just for you, Uther, Servilia, and your father's friend, Counselor Gnaeus Mateus. Your father looks cheerful and relaxed. He holds a glass of wine but can't seem to finish it because he's too engrossed in conversation. Servilia daintily raises a grape speared on a fork to her lips. Thank you for having me, Your Majesty. Such delightful company and such exquisite dishes. I still can't get used to the capital's luxuries. I'm afraid I've lost my touch during my postings with the Order. You're always welcome in my home, Nice. Servilia raises her glass with a smile and delivers a toast. I'm glad you've come out of your shell, dear husband. Here's to our family and its glorious future. It's all thanks to our son. I entrusted Jerian with the council, and it has made things much easier for me. To our family. Yeah, I don't know about entrusting, but yeah, I'm doing it. Glasses clink above the table. The wine is bittersweet, its rich aftertaste lingering on your tongue. Suddenly, Nias Mateus starts coughing and wheezing. His face turns pale. He clutches at the table, his gaze fixed helplessly on Uther. He tries to say something but chokes on the bluish foam seeping from his mouth. Your father grabs Nias by the shoulders, shaking him in desperation, hoping to bring him around. The Arcnean Tribune gasps for air as his frothy blood soaks the tablecloth. His wheezing turns into gurgling. Mateus contorts unnaturally, his head snapping back before collapsing limply on the floor. Servilia remains silent and undisturbed as she continues her meal. An oppressive silence descends upon the small dining room like a tombstone. For a few moments, Uther stares at Mateus's lifeless body in shock. Finally, a silvery haze envelops the corpse, and it dissolves into thin air. Thank the twins, it's just a lesser death. He'll come back. Uther sinks into his chair with relief. Then he throws a grave glance at Servilia. You, don't even try to deny it. I know you did this. You can't stand to see me happy. You can't accept that I found myself again after my pilgrimage to the tree. Do you want to destroy everything that brings me joy? You vile, jealous wretch. Uther is shaking. He rises, furiously kicking his chair aside. Servilia looks at her husband with icy calm. Jealousy has nothing to do with it, Uther. You broke the promise you made to me and your father. You summoned Mateus, invited him into our home, had such a nice chat with him. But our blood remembers the words of the oath, and the price for your crime is Nias' death. You've lost your mind, Servilia. The dead have devoured you whole. I will exile you to the northern islands, lock you in a dungeon, confine you to a monastery. You will no longer poison my life or Jerian's. Who do you think you're fooling? You lack the will to sort your own mail. Damn. You're just an empty husk of a man. You won't do anything to me. But if your liaison with Mateus continues, I swear he will die again, this time for good. Your father is breathing heavily. His wrinkled forehead is beaded with sweat, his hands trembling. Your mother's cold bluntness is as effective at disarming a man as a sword strike. Enough. I will rid our house of you. I will send you so far away you won't be able to reach us. Guards, arrest the Empress. At Uther's shout, guards rush into the dining room, but then they hear his order and freeze in hesitation. Servilia gives her husband a bitter smirk. Stop embarrassing yourself, Uther. You lost your authority a long time ago. Guards, escort the Emperor to his quarters. The guards shift their bewildered gazes from Uther to Servilia and back again. Your father looks at you pleadingly. Servilia is a picture of loftiness and calm. Your decision will determine your mother's fate and your father's future. Are you willing to destroy the life of one parent to grant the happiness of the other? Ooh. Okay. So, I can support Servilia. If I do so, the Great House's opinion of me will go up by 1. Logic will go up by 1, even though I think it's already maxed out. And Uther Tempest will go down by 2, plus he'll get Shattered Hopes. And Nias Mateus will go down by 1, and plus he'll get Estranged. If I sacrifice 5 more points, I will send your mother, I will send my mother to the Northern Isles, far away from the court, the capital, Uther, and Mateus. The great house's opinion of me will go down by 1. The distinguished Archneans will go down by 1. The human nobility will go down by 1. And rebellion will go up by 1. Management will go up by 1. Uther Tempest will get happiness, and Servilia Tempest will get exiled. Oh, shit. And if I destroy Servilia, you will strip your mother of her name, title, and privileges. You will have her locked into a mask and banished from the capital. The great house's opinion of me will go down by 2. The distinguished Archneans will go down by 1. My will go up by 1. And my management will go up by 1. Uther Tempest will get happiness, and Servilia Tempest will get exiled as well. Oh boy. I might do this just because I don't want to waste any these points, but then again, I also feel like if I do this, it's probably going to take some of these points, if not all of them. Oof. I am not supporting Servilia under any circumstances. Okay, I am going to roll the dice on this because I don't want the rebellion to go up either. But yeah, I'm going to roll the dice on this and use my last thing of sanity and destroy Servilia. May the gods old and new have mercy on my soul. Your blood shackles your will. The dead hands of your ancestors close around your throat, preventing you from uttering a single word. You clench your teeth so hard, blood trickles from your bitten cheek, but the pain finally breaks you out of your stupor. The Tempests retreat, taking a fragment of your soul with them. You round on Servilia and lay into her with accusations. The Emperor's weakness is her fault. Instead of support, understanding, and love, the only thing Uther has ever received from his wife is toxic barbs. She schemes behind his back, destroying every little thing that could have given the Emperor strength. Your mother has been driven mad by her own blood. You will not allow her schemes and cruelty to destroy your family. Rage flares in Servilia's eyes. Jerian, you fail to understand that I am trying to save the Tempests, while you and Uther are doing everything in your power to utterly destroy us. Pandering to your father's weakness will ruin both our family and the Empire. You take your mother's hands. Softly and calmly, you tell her that the blame for the destruction of your family lies with Servilia herself. It is your duty to protect the Tempests from her. Servilia's name will be struck from the blue book, and her face will be sealed in a faceless mask she will never be allowed to remove. The rest of your mother's days will be spent on the northern island, severed from her family, her title, and her past. No, you wouldn't dare. Cold, genuine horror trembles in Servilia's eyes. For the first time, you see your mother as she truly is. She tries to pull her hands free, but your grip is like iron. You order the guards to take Servilia away and lock her in her chambers. They take the Empress by the arms and lead her toward the exit. Your father stares at you in horror, as if he no longer recognizes you. By nightfall, your order will be carried out. Servilia Tempest will disappear forever. Well then, that's damn. Guess we won't be seeing her anymore. And now the toll comes at the end. So, what is this going to cost me this time? I am going to be so pissed if I lose all my points. Shards. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Sanity 1. A scream bursts from your throat. Once more you awaken in the dead of night. Sharp, crooked teeth were tearing into your flesh, gnawing at you until you awoke. You sit up, your shirt clinging to your sweat-drenched skin. You look out the window. The moon pierces the clouds like a white pupil, scattering fractured light across the room. You can't piece the fragments together. A cold, devouring darkness hangs above you. He is there watching. You can't bear it anymore. He's everywhere, reflected in the polished cutlery, lurking in the jug of water the servants set out each night, scattered in the mosaic of stained glass. Above all, he is in the mirror on the wall. That's why you stop looking at it, why you won't go near the jug. Yet he finds you anyway, tormenting you with silent menace. Each day oozes into the next, thick and sluggish as tar, and you're sinking into it. You're constantly on edge. Anxiety settles heavily in your chest, slipping beneath your skin, coiling around your lungs until every breath becomes a struggle. The headache never lets up, rusty nails scraping slowly inside the crown of your head. At night, you sink into a haze of sleep as though falling into a well, and when morning comes, the cycle begins anew. You're standing in the middle of the room, but you don't remember how you got here. Was there something you had to do? Some orders you were supposed to give? You strain to hold on to a thought, but it slips away. It's hard to think, and it seems pointless anyway. You walk over to the mirror, your gaze locked on your reflection. There he is, glaring back with a look that could kill. He has no idea what's coming. He's tormented you for far too long, but tonight it ends. Blood rushes to your face. You grip the knife's slender handle tightly. You test the blade with your fingernail, inching closer to the mirror. You speak in a low, menacing tone, telling him to get lost, to leave you alone, or else. His smirk remains, his eyes locked on yours. There's no reply. With clenched teeth, you snarl that you won't suffer his judgmental stare anymore. The reflection remains silent. Slowly, you lift the knife. It's a real work of art, with a sleeping dragon carved into the horn handle, a sleek band of silver. The blade gleams wickedly, drawing you in. You hold it against the double's forehead, just above his eyebrows, feeling the chill of the steel as you press it down. You carve through the forehead, then the eyebrow, blade slipping between the lashes and grazing the eyelid. The flesh yields easily. You stop just for a heartbeat, and then, as though spellbound, you trace a thin line across your face. The agony hits sharply. Something slippery gives way beneath the steel. The blade cuts through the eye, and it bursts like a ripe cherry. Blood pours over your face, filling your mouth, dripping from your chin. The razor slips from your fingers. The pain paralyzes you, your heart seizing in a cramp. Screaming, your enemy curls into a knot. Wiping your face with your sleeve, you peer through the haze, looking at the pathetic shape of your double. He's writhing, howling, his hands clutching at the wound. He'll never dare look at you like that again. A grin spreads across your face as you savor his pitiful state. Please, no more. Stop. You'll destroy us. Enough. You've won. What more do you want? If I am not what you want, I'll change. Let's become something else. Anything you desire. We've reached the breaking point. We can't take it anymore. Tell me, what do you want to become? What is it that you need? Huh. Motherfucker. I can gain will. I will lose 10 points of the Legacy of the Tempests. I will get +3 will. I will lose +3 blood. And management, diplomacy, and scholarship will all go down by 1. I can get blood. My blood will go up by 3. Management, diplomacy, and scholarship will go down by 1. I can choose logic. My logic is already maxed out, so this is pointless. My management, diplomacy, and scholarship will go down by 1. I can choose passion. My logic will go down by 3, and my passion will go up by 3. My management, diplomacy and scholarship will go down by 1. I can choose love. It's already maxed out. Management, diplomacy, and scholarship will go down by 1. Or I can choose law. Management, diplomacy, and scholarship will go down by 1. And either way, I lose 10 of the legacy of the Tempestuses. Oh, God damn it. So, I mean, honestly, none of this really matters. I will choose, I'll choose love, because again, it doesn't really do anything one way or the other for me, so sure, why not? You look at your double. A deep, ugly gash is all that is left of your eye. Your blood-soaked face feels stiff, as if paralyzed. You're ready to give your answer. You know who you want to become, and you will shape yourself into that person. The one thing you lack is love. From now on, you will follow your heart with every decision you make. Compassion will give your life meaning and keep you whole. The reflection nods weakly, and a smile slowly spreads across its disfigured face. A change stirs within you, as though the sails of your soul are being pulled taut. You draw your hand away from the wound and glance at your double. He lifts his head slowly. His pale face is changing, its features sharpening. The power, unleashed at last, surges through your veins like a rushing river. You don't have to kill us anymore. We'll become whatever you wish us to be. He looks at you, his gaze full of submission. You've chosen your path and the price has been paid. And boy, has it been paid. God dang it. On to the next. Nocturnal excursions. This event is triggered by your previous actions, greater than or equal to 2. It's at a 3 with Agatha. And Agatha doesn't have all ties severed. You warily peek through the grimy window. The room inside is dimly lit, but the dirty streaks on the glass make it almost impossible to see anything. The unbearable stench coming from within makes you cover your nose with a perfumed handkerchief. This rundown building is smothered in mud, and there are cracks running up and down its walls. You can't help but wonder how it's still standing. Agatha did not return to the palace. Worried about her fate, you ordered agents of the secret chancellery to find out what had happened to her. Several hours ago, you were informed that the concubine had been found in an Amish house on the outskirts of the old city. Immediately, saddling a horse, you rushed after her. What brought Agatha to this foot on Earth? Who in their right mind would leave the peace and comfort of the palace to spend time here? Even the secret chancellery agents accompanying you felt obvious relief when you ordered them to wait around the corner. You crack the door open and slip inside unnoticed. The odor of refuse and rot makes you sick to your stomach. You wet your handkerchief with your last remaining drops of cologne and start slowly advancing through the dim room. Rows of narrow bunk beds take up all the space. You see bodies wrapped in filthy rags twitching feebly on top of them. The floorboards creak under your feet, but Agatha still hasn't noticed you. She's walking along the bunk beds, lighting candles. As she does, you see more and more gory details. The ulcers on the people's skin, shaking, bony hands, gaping, toothless mouths. You watch, transfixed, as Agatha sits beside one of the patients to put ointment on his sores and dab water on his lips. With a gentle smile, Agatha whispers something to the ailing man, like a mother putting her child to sleep. She cradles the leper's hand in her palm and kisses it, then presses her lips to his forehead. The ailing man calms down and falls into a peaceful slumber. Agatha checks on every single person in the room. Once she's done, she disappears through a small door. You tiptoe after her, trying not to disturb anyone. The tiny back room is full of shelves of medical tools and vials. Agatha is sitting on a low bench in a dark corner. She has her hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes are closed and her hands lie limp on her knees. She's clearly tired. "Why have you come here, Jerian?" You freeze for a moment, not sure how to answer her. But then the words come tumbling out of your mouth. You tell her that you want to get to know her, to see her true self and understand her better, to close the distance between you. Wasn't that what she taught you? Don't lie to yourself, Jerian. Nothing good will come of us getting closer. You and I are from entirely different worlds, as though you can now clearly see. Your world is bright and clean. It shines. Mine is shrouded in darkness, drenched in pain, dirt, and decay. There is no confluence between our rivers. Your world will never let you come to me. You are its heart, its rising sun. The people around you would sink their teeth into you to keep you from falling so low. Leave. Intimacy between us can only breed suffering. You surge forward, prepared to object, but then Agatha turns her face to the light, and you can't help but recoil at the sight of her sore-ridden skin. The sharp smell of disease hits your nose. Your throat constricts. Your blood starts to boil. The voices of your ancestors demand that you leave this house and this woman at once. Everyone has their own place in this world, and yours is not here. Forcing the roar of your blood to quiet down, you overcome your instinctual disgust and try to listen to your own heart. What do you actually want? Man, I didn't want none of this. I just wanted to be friends. That's it. Good Lord. So I can kiss Agatha. If I do so, I will lose 5 of the Legacy of the Tempests. I will get 2 love, and my relationship with Agatha will go up by 1. If I treat Agatha's sores, my Legacy of the Tempests will go down by 5. Logic will go up by 2. Scholarship will go up by 1. Agatha will go up by 1. But I can also leave immediately. Legacy of the Tempest will go up by 5. My will go down by 1. And all ties will be severed with Agatha. Again, this is one of these situations where I honestly I think I would do this anyway, just because I'm not trying to romance Agatha. I just wanted her around, her counsel or whatnot. So sure, I'll leave immediately. Agatha is right. Your worlds are too different to ever come together. You should admit this now and stop hurtling each other. Your ancestors praise your wisdom, and your blood drowns out the pain of separation with a heady feeling of power. You leave the twins' forsaken hospital. And I got 5 of the Legacy of the Tempests, and my blood went up to 6. And now, all my ties are severed with Agatha. I'm sure that won't bite me in the ass later. The Emperor's Seal. Twilight descends on the world behind the window. The council chamber is illuminated by numerous candles, creating a very intimate atmosphere. This session on minor issues feels like an oasis of tranquility in the midst of a tumultuous battle for the fate of the Creed. And it's all happening at the same table. The capital is seeing an increase in serious crime compared to last year. The increase is not what I would call significant, and yet it's a trend that must not be ignored. Monroe taps his fingers on the tabletop. Milananis is distracted by his papers. Ogriff appears to be napping. Lucullus rises from his seat and interrupts the sleep-inducing routine. "Excuse me, gentlemen. My duties demand my presence, so I must leave before I hear all your reports." "Great strategist, please. Our agenda dictates." Lucullus ignores the prefect and approaches you directly. He hands you a paper. "These officers have passed their exams and are waiting for their appointments. If you would just sign this for me, Your Highness, I will promptly leave and distract you no longer." A long list full of noble family names is placed on the table in front of you. You see Lucillus's carelessly scribbled signature, the Emperor's Seal. Your gaze falters. You're jolted awake as you take a closer look at the seal. One of the monograms is missing and the dragon's tail is sticking out past the boundary. You look up at the great strategist. How did this seal get on this document? When did Lucillus see your father? The Emperor has not seen any visitors for 3 months. Lucillus gives you a crooked smile. I hate to admit it, Your Highness, but you are absolutely right. His Majesty has made himself rather unreachable as of late. You go through the trouble of planning a visit with all the due ceremony, spend the whole day just to get to him, and he calls off the meeting. You leave some documents for him to sign, and you find them exactly where you left them when you come around next time. In short, I had to use a little military trick to save myself and the Emperor some trouble. The counselors look at one another in shock. Matthias chuckles quietly and discreetly. Lucillus spreads his arms. Why are you looking at me like that? I have young Archnians waiting for their appointments. Their honorable families have paid all the proper dues for their sons, and I can't give them their promised positions in the Legion. Why shouldn't they think I'm nothing but a grifter and a thief? Matthias slams his palm on the table. His braided beard is shaking with laughter. By the divine brothers, you cannot make this stuff up. You forged the Emperor's seal to grant some impatient louts the Legion's cloaks that they bought. I insist we keep this in the minutes of this session as a gift for future historians. The great strategist rubs his neck and looks away. The Privy Councilor inserts himself into the conversation. This is no laughing matter, Tribune. The great strategist is making a valid point, albeit in a hardly appropriate manner. We are made to wait unforgivably long for His Majesty to sign our orders. What the great strategist did borders on treason, but I must admit that obtaining the Emperor's seal is now a burdensome formality. It borders on treason? I'm fairly certain that's just outright treason. What is so treasonous about it, Marcius? The Emperor has placed his trust in us, and we keep bothering him for no good reason. Entrust the seal to the council and be done with it, I say. I'm sure the great chancellor can lift that particular burden from the Emperor's shoulders. I am afraid I do not share your enthusiasm, Lucillus. The seal that the Emperor places by his own hand serves to confer his will directly, imbuing the documents with the Tempest's authority. In my opinion, should the seal be entrusted to the great chancellor, it would confer the council's power, but not the Emperor's. I know how it's supposed to work, Lucius, but right now it's just impossible. Let's give the seal to the great censor then. Jerian is a Tempest. He is the heir to the throne, for Twin's sake. Let him confer the Emperor's will in this council. Ogriff is shaken awake by Monroe's grating tone. The great chancellor is peering at you intently. With all due respect to His Highness, I must wholeheartedly object. If we hand you the seal, Jerian, we will lose our unity. We will be at odds with one another. As the great chancellor, I demand to have the final say in this council. Be that as it may, Jerian alone can approach the Emperor to ask for his seal. Should any of us ask for it, it will indeed sound like treason. This decision is yours to make, Your Highness. I can spend 5 points and get it my damn self. Good God. Keep the tradition. You will keep the tradition alive. The Emperor's seal will stay with Uther. Progress will go down by 1. Management will go up by 1. Ovidius Lucillus will go down by 1 as well. I can give the seal to Monroe, which I am definitely not doing. You will take the Emperor's seal from your father and give it to the great chancellor. The council obedience will go up by 1. Ovidius Lucillus will go up by 1. Agoras Monroe will go up by 1. Oh, I can't take the seal for myself. If I could have, the distinguished Archnians would have went up by 1. The human nobility would have went up by 1. Council obedience would have went down by 1. Agoras Monroe would have went down by 1, and Uther Tempest would have went up by 1. So yeah. Well, we're gonna keep the tradition then. You examine Lucillus with scorn and tell him that for a self-purported defender of tradition, the great strategist is far too eager to break away with it, especially when he stands to benefit. All I wanted was... I apologize, Your Highness. My mistake. You chide the rest of the council for showing such disrespect for your father and state plainly that the handling of the Emperor's seal will remain untouched. The council will abstain from discussing this matter, and the great strategist will be punished for breaking protocol. Lucullus hangs his head in shame and returns to his seat. The councilors look away and bury their noses in their own documents, eager to go back to the soporific routine of the session. Finally awake, Terentius Ogriff blinks and looks around in total befuddlement. So progress went down by 1, but it doesn't go like down into the lower one of progressive society, so that's fine. My management went up by 1, hurrah, and Avidius Lucilius goes down to 1. Article 3 on the rights of humans. Your hurried footsteps echo through the wide corridor of the council building. You don't want to be late. Today's agenda is one of the key articles of the Creed. You're about to decide the future of human rights. You enter the chamber in a hurry, apologizing for the delay on your way in, only to discover that the other counselors are not yet present. The Great Chancellor is the only one there. He stands up from the table and greets you with a courteous bow. I apologize for the unexpected rescheduling of the session, Your Highness, and I thank you for making it in time. I was hoping to have a moment to speak to you alone before our deliberations begin. Agorius takes his place behind the table and remains silent for a moment, fiddling with the dragon medallion on his chest. You've never seen the Great Chancellor so anxious and thoughtful before. My prince, the article we are reviewing today will be foundational to the entire Creed. It will define the future of our empire. I am concerned that the other counselors do not possess the foresight or courage necessary to make the right decision. I intend to put an end to the conflict between the red and the blue-blooded, and I am counting on the support of the future emperor. You know where I stand, Jerian. We must never betray the Archneans, nor should we allow our subjects to be corrupted by power. The ruinous designs of Char Milonardus, backed by your ancestor Gladius Tempest, must be put to rest. We have to bar humans from holding titles of nobility. The blessed Archnean Empire cannot be ruled by servants. Agorius delivers his appeal with dry intensity, each sentence like a commandment etched in marble. He grasps his Great Chancellor medallion tightly in his hand. Cornelius, your uncle and my old friend, always dreamed of equality for humans and Archneans. He hoped that humans would deliver the Empire from its current turmoil, but his reforms have almost doomed us all. Cornelius refused to admit that humans are, by their very nature, covetous, irresponsible, and dishonest. They do not have traditions, blood, or honor to bind them. They have acquired power that they do not deserve, and it has corrupted them. Now they act without restraint, always ravenous for more. That is their nature. Unless we stop the humans, they will. Monroe is cut off mid-sentence. The heavy double doors creak open, allowing Lucius Diamant, Marcius Milonardus, and Terentius Ogriff into the chamber. They are talking loudly, but when they see you and Agorius, they fall silent and bow to you in greeting. Apologies for the delay, Great Chancellor. It seems we were not notified of the rescheduling in due time. Your secretary ought to be punished for this mistake. I hope we haven't missed anything important. Agorius Monroe gives you a quick glance. For a moment, he appears cold and displeased, but that shadow quickly vanished from his face as he gets a hold of his emotions and dons his usual mask of benevolence. Thank you for your time, Jerian. I am counting on your foresight and resolve in today's vote. Please take your seats, everyone. I expect the great strategist and the Archnean Tribune to join us momentarily. The wait is excruciating. Silence hangs in the air between the counselors, so thick you could cut it with a knife. You notice their cautious glances directed at you, but no one dares to speak up. Finally, you hear Lucullus's mighty cough just outside the door. The great strategist enters the chamber and strides to his chair. He appears to be thoroughly amused, and a flask flashes in his hand. He smiles kindly as he looks around at the other counselors. Why the long phrases, my friends? We're convening a council session where wisdom and mutual respect will give birth to laws that will govern the empire and lead it to 1,000 years of prosperity. Is that not why we're here? Or have I wandered into a wake? Lucius laughed vociferously at his own jokes. The other counselors forced smiles. A moment later, Gnaeus Matthias appears in the doorway. He seems tense but determined and ready for action. For you, it seems, every session is a cause worthy of revelry, Ovidius. Finally, all the counselors take their places. The great chancellor lets go of his medallion, and his firm voice rolls through the chamber. Counselors, today we are to confirm the third article of the Creed. This one will define the future rights of humans. As the great chancellor and the leader of this council, I consider only one decision appropriate: that which bars humans from power and prevents them from attaining or holding titles of nobility. The counselors exchange looks but do not seem surprised by the great chancellor's hardline position. Only Lucius appears slightly surprised and somewhat pleased. He quietly salutes Monroe's proposal and takes a swig from his flask. The Lesser Quorum experiment showed us just how dangerous and reckless it would be to continue on the Empire's current path. When humans gain power, they wield it for only one purpose: to gain even more power. In fact, once empowered, humans will immediately turn against those who granted them their power in the first place. Those who were once loyal servants of the Arcane Empire become her greatest enemies. The war for our future is already raging, and we are giving our enemies strength and arming them against us. We are surrendering the Empire without a fight, willingly and ingloriously. The time has come for us to put an end to it. Thank you for stating your positions so transparently. However, the other counselors and I are of a different mind. The humans have been loyal servants of the Empire for a long time. Our own lives largely depend on their labor and continued loyalty. We have been granting titles of nobility to worthy humans for centuries now, acknowledging their right to power. The Creed must codify the existing order and preserve the rights of humans to rule in the Empire, as long as they rightfully hold a title of nobility. Terentius Ogriff nods in approval. Diamant looks triumphantly at the Chancellor over his glasses. Monroe's face darkens. He slowly flips the great Chancellor's medallion over in his fingers as he gives each counselor a long, hard look. I see you have it all figured out. Unfortunately for you, as long as I am in charge of this council and its formulation of the Creed, I will not approve a law that will bring our empire to ruin. The council will support the articles that excludes humans from nobility, or there will be no Creed. Enough empty threats, Chancellor. We've already adopted an article that enshrines Arcanian superiority over humans into the Creed. It will not happen again. The Creed is not your plaything, Agorius. The Emperor has charged this council with the composition of its articles, and the council makes its decisions based on majority vote, not your whim. I serve not just the Emperor, but the Arcanian people, and the great ancestors that conquered these lands and built this empire. Stop, Agorius. Before you say something you may live to regret. You are dangerously close to what I would consider open treason and insurrection. As for your refusal to work on the Creed, keep in mind that we will accomplish the goal set before us whether you are part of it or not. Now please move the proceedings along or call the council to a vote. Monroe and Melanatus stares daggers at each other in silence. The tension is broken by Matthias, who begins slowly clapping. The tribune rises, putting his fist on the table and leaning forward. His eyes, glinting with thrill and passion, narrow as he looks at the other counselors. By the gods, there's a battle worthy of an epic poem. Allow me to muscle my way in. I joined you here to represent the people, and here's what I have to say. Everyone has the right to choose the law he lives by, no matter his race or estate. Arcanians, humans, nobles, clergy, commoners. They must all have a way to stand up for themselves. They should all have a say in how the Empire functions. Again with this nonsense, Nias. You must realize that your deranged proposals will find no support in this council. Just join us, and your people will keep their right to hold their noble titles and their power. It is a sensible compromise. I fight for my convictions, and I will not bend them to suit the circumstances. The Emperor introduced me to this council to give a voice to those you never see, the common people suffering under the heel of the powerful. Grant the common estate its due, and you will gain a powerful ally. If you make them your enemies, you will go against the tide of history and be swept away. Counselors, please, we must preserve the integrity of this institution and the creed. We are not enemies to each other. We are all sons of the Archnean people. Our forefathers' legacy and our descendants' future will depend on the decisions we make here today. Do not let the humans steal the Archnean Empire from us. That is enough, Agorius. We have made up our minds. Jerian, I implore you to be reasonable. Do not vote for these radical reforms that threaten to undermine the stability of the Empire. You grasp the symbol of Great Censor's authority firmly in your hand. You have the deciding vote. If you back Monroe, he will be able to push through his version of the article. The Great Chancellor has made it abundantly clear that without it, the creed will mean nothing to him. Gnaeus Mateus drums his fingers on the table and looks you right in the eye. What is he getting at? Even with your support, the Tribune's proposal will never secure the majority vote in the council. And yet, Gert Arkwright and his unspoken committee expect you to codify the human right to participate in imperial governance. If you want to please your allies, you must convince one of the counselors to vote with you on this article. When all is said and done, you can change nothing. You can codify the current state of the affairs in the creed, keeping power in the hands of the nobility, the human and Archnean nobility. Most of the counselors are already in favor of this arrangement, and you can back them up. The stone figure in your hand feels distinctly heavy today. Okay, so I can prohibit the human nobility. Counselor obedience will go up by 2, Agorius Monroe will go up by 1, and Gert Arkwright will be displeased. He's already displeased with, with the creed. I can preserve the human nobility. If I do that, the council obedience will go down by 2, which will shatter the council. Lucius Diamant will go up by 1, Agorius Monroe will be displeased with the council, and Gert Arkwright will be displeased with the creed. Excuse me, Agorius Monroe will be displeased with the creed. I can grant all estates the right to power. Council disobedience will go down by 2, destroying the council. Gnaeus Mateus will go up by 1, and Agorius Monroe will be displeased with the creed. And I am going to grant all estates the right to power. You say that you cannot hold on to the past or cling to the present when defining the future of the Empire. The creed must contain laws that transcend the differences not just between Archneans and humans, but between the various states they belong to. You vote in favor of the article that grants every subject of the Empire equal opportunity to govern. You stamp the stone censor on the article that gives humans of every estate an opportunity to govern. Gnaeus Mateus puts his symbol beside yours. An uneasy silence follows. The shocked counselors anxiously await your next step. You call upon Lucius Diamant to carry on Cornelius's legacy of bold reforms that will transform the Empire and prepare it for the future. You tell the great prefect that you expect his support in light of your shared goals and values. Diamant cautiously looks at you over his glasses, then puts his symbol of authority next to the stone censor. Have you lost your mind? Empowering the lowborn goes against their lot. I will not stand for it. Great Chancellor, you have my vote. The old man quickly lowers his symbol of authority onto the scroll. The other counselors soon make their votes known as well. It's an even split, 3 against 3. Marcius Millanatus is the only one still holding a stone figure in his hand. Be reasonable, Marcius. Hold on, Agorius. You're forcing me to choose between 2 insane options, either of which could lead to the Empire's downfall. And, much to my surprise, you appear to be the most insane of all, Great Chancellor. To deny humans nobility is to bring forth the immediate collapse of the Empire by way of all-out war. Granting the wealthy and influential lowborn a seat in the lesser quorums seems to be the lesser evil. I vote for the article that grants the lowborn the rights to govern. The Privy Councillor places the fourth symbol of authority next to yours. The Great Chancellor slowly rises, his hands bracing against the table. The air around him seems thicker, as if it's about to start sparking. I don't think you understand. An article that allows humans to gain power will never appear in the Creed. I will not allow it. A shocked silence hangs in the air for a moment before Marcius Millanatus' shrill voice cuts through it. The Privy Councillor's cool, collected demeanor has suddenly disappeared. You are not the Emperor, Gorius. You have no right to override the decisions of this council. Check your tone and certify the article we have adopted. Otherwise, you may lose the Great Chancellor's seat faster than your predecessors. Monroe slams his fist on the table. Diamant shudders. Ogre frowns. Gnaeus Mateus boldly meets the Great Chancellor's gaze. This is treason. I will not present this creed to the Millennial Senate. This is not treason. It is the decision of the council, which embodies the will of the Emperor. If you will not abide by it, resign from your post. I'm sure Uther won't force you to stay, but the creed will be completed and presented to the Senate whether you are there for it or not. You've never seen Marcius this furious before. All caution and reserve have vanished from his voice. Everyone regards the enraged Privy Councillor with utter bewilderment. The Great Chancellor finally returns to his seat in silence. Lucullus speaks up, completely untroubled by these proceedings. Come now, Gorius. It's not the end of the world. Let them manage their stables, shops, and taverns. Resigned and dejected, the Great Chancellor presses his seal onto the parchment and casts it aside. He absent-mindedly scans the documents beneath the four stone figures. The third article of the Creed has been adopted. Yeah, fuck you. Alright, I've granted all estates the right to power, so while I wasn't able to turn around and get the thing with the Archnians, I did the thing for the humans, so. And now the council is shattered. I'm sure that won't be bad. Gorius Monroe's displeased with the Creed, and Gnaeus Mateus' relationship with me is now maxed out. Anarchy. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Council disobedience less than or equal to 0. It's at 0. All hope for peace in the council now lies abandoned. The provinces are overwhelming the councillors with petitions. Sessions are postponed, and when they are finally held, they devolve into hours of pointless bickering. If these differences are not reconciled, the Great Council will lose its power in the Empire. You enter the council chamber, going over your prepared speech in your head. Your footsteps echo beneath the stone arches. The chamber is empty. You take the Great Centaur's seat behind the table. Minutes pass, but you remain the sole attendant of this silent assembly. Last, Marcius Millanatus arrives. He gives you a polite yet wholly unenthusiastic bow. He looks tired and subdued. Annoyed, you greet the Privy Councillor and ask when the rest of the councillors are planning to join you. They're not coming, Your Highness. I'm afraid neither the Great Chancellor nor any other councillor deems these fruitless attempts to come to a compromise useful. Each ministry now works by itself, doing away with all attempts to coordinate with each other or the Tempests. You stop, feeling the weight of this news pressing upon you. You ask Millanatus if, perhaps, it's time to revisit the proposition to appoint a new Great Chancellor. I have spoken to the Emperor about this. He didn't even hear my report in full. Uther believes that he has delegated sufficient power to the council to have it sort its own issues out without his personal involvement. He trusts his appointees in the current council roster. We will not get anywhere with His Majesty, my prince. The councillors will never go directly against the Emperor's decrees. So the sessions pertaining to the creed will still be held. However, things being the way they are, the creed itself may very well remain nothing more than a stack of paper. You bite the inside of your cheek until it hurts, then ask how noticeable your lack of control is in the Empire. Meliodas looks away. Every estate is up in arms due to the Council's inaction. Rebellious sentiment is flourishing, even in circles known for their loyalty to you. The weight of responsibility becomes unbearable. Anxiety coils in your belly like a snake, still motionless in your chair. You look at the empty seats around you. If you cannot bring the counselors back behind this table, the Tempests may very well lose their grip on the Empire. Is the rebellion finna go up? Oh shit. Rebellion is at a 9. And we're still in chapter 4. Good God. Okay, so on the one hand, I kind of want to do Legacy of the Tempests, so I will have some points. But I have 15 points right now, and I had these points in case I needed to use them. I haven't needed to use them so far. And now I'm slightly worried because if I do some of these other things, it may cause some issues. So if I do, so if I do progress for the masses, the great houses will go down to 2, commoners will go up by 2, and that will leave me at 0 for the great houses and 18 for the commoners, who it looks like I'm already allied with. Let me see. No, that would make us allied at that point. But the great houses dropping to enemies, that would be pretty bad. I feel like that's just gonna put us in the rebellion category. I'm not doing any of these conservative ones. Let's see, Imperial Patronage. If I do this, equality will go up to Rise of Equality, which will also trigger an event, which worries me because as we've seen in the past, that can go either way. And the Board of Justice is not needed because it's already maxed out. The human nobility will go up by 2 if it's not already maxed out, but yeah, there's no need for that. I could do finest instructors. Again, not really much use in that other than bringing up my stats back to what I lost previously. And again, there's the Lives of the Emperors that will give me 10 for Legacy of the Tempests and bring it up to 25. And then there's Relations with Vassals. This would bring up the Power of the Tempests to 10, which would still leave us in decline. So unfortunately, I think I am going to turn around and do Imperial Patronage. Together with the Committee for Aiding the Poor, you open orphanages and almshouses for those in need. I hope this does not bite me in the ass. And I hope this brings the rebellion down. It is becoming increasingly obvious that inequality doesn't just cause hardship, it threatens the empire itself. Widespread poverty leads to epidemics, disorder, and the collapse of entire provinces. Helping the poor is not a matter of generosity, but of necessity. You decide to continue your efforts and reinforce the aid system. Together with the committee, you determine 3 key priorities: opening orphanages, establishing almshouses, and distributing free bread to the hungry. Regrettably, this policy of charity and support for the poor sparks discontent among the distinguished Archnians. They are outraged that the empire they serve so loyally is squandering its wealth on idlers and deadbeats. Looking after them fixes nothing and will only swell the ranks of parasites. They're always mad about something. All right, equality goes up to 6. Is it going to trigger an event right now? 'Tis the question. All right, the rise of inequality. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Equality greater than or equal to 5. It's in a 6, and the Archnean tyranny has not been triggered. In the evening, your aide brings you a sealed letter from Patriarch Luke and a report compiled by the Secret Chancellery at your behest. Straining your tired eyes, you pore over the small, barely legible script. The report discusses the lesser quorums and their impact on the Empire. For the most part, it simply quotes Professor Stuart Condorcet and his lecture, The History of Lesser Quorums, a dream that changed the world. This comes as a surprise. Not too long ago, the quorums were simple advisory bodies to the provincial council, where people of various walks of life discuss local economic matters. But now, lesser quorum members are solely responsible for distributing the Archduke's tax and drawing up the provincial budget. While advocating for the poor, wealthy commoners and priests of the new faith have taken control of provincial money to allocate more and more funds to the betterment of the commoners' quality of life. The pleas of those whose opinion were previously ignored are finally taken into account. With the growing power of the lesser quorums, many of the doors that were previously closed to ordinary humans are now starting to open. They have an easier time getting an education, finding a job, or even starting their own businesses. The social boons that used to be granted solely to those of noble birth are now available to anyone who shows talent and due diligence. Prosperity makes itself at home in the houses of people who never even dared to dream of it. With financial aid, the poor get a chance to improve their lives and lift themselves out of poverty bit by bit. Once you're done with the report, you reach for the envelope that came with it. It contains a petition from Patriarch Luke, one of the main champions of the new faith. He's very effusive in his descriptions of the new opportunities the commoners are being presented with it. The lesser quorums are a 6-horse hitch charging forward, their legs pumping like pistons. You scan through a page and a half before the Patriarch gets to the point. Luke complains that the lesser quorums are struggling to get any work done. When it comes to matters like arranging for tuition discounts for orphans or setting up homeless shelters, the stubborn, uncompromising Archneans are fighting them every step of the way. The problem is that the tribunes who represent the Archnean estates at the lesser quorum meetings have the right to veto any of the new believers' initiatives, and they have been exercising that right in full. The tribune of the great houses and the tribune of the distinguished Archneans rarely see eye to eye, but even if one of them can be reasoned with, the other will definitely override the lesser quorum's decision. You skim through another page and a half. The picture is clear enough. The Archnean nobles are opposing any reforms that would protect urban paupers while using their privileges to hinder the work of the lesser quorums. On the last page, the Patriarch finally petitions you to limit the number of Archnean tribunes to 1. Luke is confident that this concession will be sufficient to let the lesser quorums advocate for those in need. You put the stack of papers aside to mull the matter over. It's only natural that the two Archnean tribunes would stand for different values. The fact that most of the lesser quorum's projects, which are designed to serve the commoners' interests, are met with protests from at least one of them is no surprise either. But satisfying the Patriarch's petition would mean insulting one of the Archnean estates. Are you willing to make a stand against the most ancient noble bloodlines, or the Archneans who serve the Empire? What if you discreetly limit the rights of both tribunes instead? Or maybe going against your blood is a bad idea. Should you side with the Archneans and restrict the power of the lesser quorum's hold? You take a blank parchment and sit there, watching a black bead of ink swell on the tip of your quill pen. Okay, so I can dismiss the tribunes of the great houses. The great houses will go down to 0. The new faith clergy will go up by 2. The commoners will go up by 2, and we will become allied again. Equality will go up to 7. Rebellion will go down by 1. So that's something to look into. I can dismiss the tribunes of the distinguished Archnians. If I do so, you will free the lesser corns from oversight by the distinguished Archnians. Distinguished Archnians' opinion will go down by 2. The new faith clergy will go up by 2. Commerce will go up by 2. Equality will go up by 1. Rebellion will go down by 1. Love will also go up. I can limit the power of both tribunes. If I do that, it would only cost me 5 of my Tempest points. The new faith clergy will go up by 2. Commoners will go up by 2. Equality will go up by 1. Rebellion also still goes down by 1. And of course, love. And if I do limit the power of the lesser quorums, the new faith clergy will go down by 2. Commoners will go down by 2. Equality will go down by 1. Love will go down by 1. So yeah, we're not doing that. I think I'm gonna do this because it gives me the benefit of bringing the rebellion down, and I'll get 2 with both the new faith clergy and the commoners. Well, I get that one way or the other, but I also get the rebellion, and I don't get the negative stats of pissing off one or the other, which I don't want in this case, because I'm fairly certain if I turn around and do the dismiss the tribunes of the great houses, that's going to bring it down to 0, which is going to cause them to be enemies. And if they're enemies, that's probably going to turn around and cause the rebellion to go up. So this will be a moot point. So let's go ahead and spend that 5, and we will limit the power of both tribunes. You'd hate to lose the loyalty of either of the Archnian estates, which is why you're not about to take away anyone's tribuneship. Instead, you're going to give both tribunes even more power. The disagreements between the tribunes from the 2 different estates may be the primary cause of the lesser quorum's woes, but they're also the key to balancing out their influence. One by one, the words of your new decree appear on the parchment. Broaden the power of all tribunes in the lesser quorums by giving them the right to block each other's vetoes. The next day, you summon the court diplomats and order them to negotiate with the provincial tribunes, playing up the differences between the distinguished Archnians and the great houses in order to pit them against one another. The ideas proposed by the lesser quorums will no longer get blocked just because the Archnian tribunes can't see eye to eye. Either of them will be able to veto the other's protests and vote the proposal through. And you haven't even impinged on Archnian rights. Technically, you've actually given your people even more power. Not long after your decree is published, you had received news that the lesser quorums are hard at work across the empire. The process of distributing the Archduke's taxes is now almost seamless, and provincial budgets are adopted without any unnecessary delays. The bourgeoisie and the new faith clergy are all very grateful to you for your pursuit of justice and your interest in the commoners' lives. You've managed to avoid drawing Archnian ire, and any discontent their tribunes feel is now directed against their counterparts. It seems you've managed to achieve relative calm and order in the lesser quorums. You also hope that by supporting them, you will strengthen the reputation of the ruling dynasty in the eyes of your subjects. You will clearly demonstrate that the Tempests are consistent in their policies and not afraid to carry out reforms the empire desperately needs. All right, so yeah, we're back to allied with the commoners, and we're pretty close to getting the new faith clergy back to allies as well. And equality goes up to 7. Rebellion is finally going back down to just disturbances. Well, it's already been at disturbances, but if we can get it down even more, that'll be great, because I feel like the next chapter, if not the remainder of this chapter, is just going to be a shit show and a half. A letter from Magra. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Expedition fleet triggered. Ferdinand Elbert is not a Tempest. Ferdinand Elbert not Oblivion. Ferdinand was appointed Magister of the Order of the Lesser Branch, becoming your loyal servant. Ferdinand is gone. You will never hear from him again, so okay. Dear Jerian, I finally settled down in this sweltering land, and I can't wait to tell you about all the wonders that have unfolded before me in Magra. You can't go anywhere without a flask of water, or better, wine. The sun beats down so fiercely, even the sturdiest boots begin to melt. Gusts of wind rip up the sand, and swirling it into little dust devils that find their way into your eyes, hair, and mouth. Sand is everywhere here. Take yesterday, for example. I ordered suckling pig at a tavern, and even that had grit where you least expected. The owner just shrugged, although he charged me extra for the meal when he figured out I'm from the capital. Thankfully, the wine here is pleasant, no worse than in Eterna. But without your company, dear brother, it seems a bit bland. I went to the silver tree. Its delicate branches look like lace, and its leaves rustle softly, emitting a barely audible littling chime. It's even taller and more majestic than I'd imagined. A true marvel, and there's no other way to put it. Under its shade, your mind really does become clearer. It's as if you were a jug full of muddy water, finally emptied and scrubbed to a shine. There are so many wondrous things here, but I won't tell you anything more. You have to come here and see it for yourself. It's time you truly got to know the Empire. P.S. I saw Gaius recently. He's not doing great, to be honest. I'm sure a visit from you would do him some good. P.P.S. Remember to pack some sturdy walking boots. The shoes we wear in the capital won't last you 3 steps here. Your wandering brother, Ferdinand. Good for him. The Metropolitan Legate. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Gert Arkwright equals ally. Gert Arkwright arrives in the throne room alongside a tall human in an officer's uniform. Both greet you with a respectful bow. Arkwright's younger companion has the emblem of the Imperial Legion gleaming on his chest. His thick black mustache is slightly curled. The officer's composed demeanor exudes strength and iron will, his face calm and dignified. By contrast, Arkwright appears annoyed and agitated. Avidius Lucilius stands beside you, having arrived specifically for this meeting. Casting a brief glance at the officer, the great strategist grunts with displeasure. Quickly, Lucilius moves to speak, but you silence him. You want to hear Arkwright's side of the story first, since he's the one who sought your patronage. Thank you for the honor of this audience, my prince. Allow me to introduce Baron Gunter L. Croy, noble of the sword, descendant of one of the first ennobled human families, a brilliant officer, and a loyal servant of the Empire. In spite of these merits, the Baron was expelled from the Legion by an arbitrary decision of the great strategist. Having held the rank of Praetor of the Eternal Legion until recently, Gunter L. Croy petitioned for a promotion to Legate. However, Avidius Lucilius saw this as an insult to the Archnean officers. He charged Gunter with treason and stripped him of his rank and decorations, demoting the Baron to private. Unsurprisingly, the great strategist presented no evidence for his baseless accusation. I am fully convinced that the Baron's human origin is the real cause behind this dishonorable treatment. Unable to hold back, the great strategist pounds his fist on his palm and abruptly cuts off Arkwright. Forgive me, your highness, but no Archnean will ever obey a human. Were I to approve the Baron's ridiculous petition, every senior officer in the Legion would resign immediately, or more likely, send him on a one-way trip out of the city with a sack over his head. I preserve order in the Legion. In fact, I probably saved the Baron's life, and this is how I'm repaid? It's outrageous. What? How dare you? Your Highness, the great strategist has essentially confessed to submitting false accusations and abuse of power. The unspoken committee and I demand justice and your royal protection for Gunter L. Croy. You must restore the Baron's rank and grant your highest consideration to his legate application. Arkwright strikes the floor with his cane, outraged. Lucilius shoots the old industrialist a disdainful glance and speaks in a calm, almost ubiquitous tone. The more favors you grant to humans, Your Highness, the bolder they become. This one is already openly making demands. Imagine how they would behave if you put the Metropolitan Legion under their control. One word from you, and you won't ever hear about Baron What's-His-Name, that loudmouth Arkwright, or that gang of committee crooks ever again. Elcroy smooths his mustache and turns to Lucillus with a smirk. You, of all people, accuse me of fraud, Ovidius. Your Highness, the great strategist himself is nothing but a thief, and the Legion under his command is preoccupied solely with filling its officers' pockets. To secure this lucrative cash cow, Lucillus places his cronies in positions of power while shutting out anyone who is disgusted by his graft. I trust you are aware of the great strategist's dirty habits, my prince. Elcroy's tone is harsh and cold. The great strategist's face darkens with fury, sweat beading on his forehead. A heavy tension fills the room like a brewing storm. With your patronage, Your Highness, I will purge the Metropolitan Legion of crooks and parasites. The junior officers and common soldiers are mostly on my side. They seek honest service, but grow wary of humiliating themselves before those who exploit them. Appoint me legate, and the capital will be protected by the most disciplined, loyal, and capable troops in the Empire. Ovidius, Lucillus, and Gunter Elcroy exchange murderous glares, their hands gripping the hilts of their swords. It appears your presence is the only thing restraining them from dueling at once. One word from you will suffice to approve the Baron's petition and grant him protection from Lucillus. But are you ready to humiliate the Archnians by placing them under a human legate's command? Or perhaps your alliance with the humans was a mistake, and you should heed the great strategist's counsel. This is going to cost me 5 points either way. I can make the Baron legate. If I do so, the great houses will go down by 2 to 0. Human nobility will go up to 20. Progress will go up by 1 to 6. Equality will go up by 1 to 8 and will trigger another event. The power of the Tempests will go up by 2 to 10. The council disobedience will go down to 0, but it's already at 0. And Gunter Elcroy will become legate. If I restore Gunter's rank, the great houses will go down by 1, triggering an event, and the human nobility will go up by 1. Progress will also go up by 1. If I deny the request, the human nobility will go down by 1, and Ovidius Lucillus will go up by 1. And if I break the alliance with the humans, human nobility will go down by 2, commoners will go down by 2, triggering something in both of these, basically just knocking them back to neutral. Progress will go down by 1, council obedience will go up by 1, Gerd Arkwright will be arrested, and Ovidius Lucillus will go up by 1. So no, I'm going to make the Baron the legate. This will give us some power. This will give us some progress, and it will give us some equality. I am hoping this does not raise the rebellion too much. I can only afford 1 point. So let's see how this goes. Your voice steady. You command the great strategist to clear all charges against Gunter Elcroy and assign him the rank of legate of the Metropolitan Legion. Before Lucillus can object, you add that the Baron is now under your protection. Anyone who lays a hand on him will be charged with treason and sentenced to death. Lucillus grits his teeth, but bows in submission to your will. Furthermore, you declare your intention to create a special commission to investigate any allegations of abuse within the Legion and ensure fair treatment for human legionnaires. There will be no tolerance for injustice or Archnian misconduct within its ranks. With all due respect, my prince, are you sure it's wise to set your own army against you? If loyalty to the Tempests is so fragile among your officers, Ovidius, perhaps it's time to replace them. Elcroy runs his thumb over his mustache and drops to one knee. He unsheathes his sword and kisses the blade. Your Highness, accept my oath, my blade, and my loyalty. Let me be the one to vanquish your enemies and stand steadfast by your side. I vow that my sword will strike down anyone who stands against you. All right, So human nobility is maxed out, the great houses are utterly pissed. Now we are enemies. So council disobedience is already at a 0, it can't go any lower. Equality has gone up to the triumph of equality, and progress has gone up to 6. I need 2 more points to get to the triumph of progress. And Ovidius Lucilius goes down by 1, and Gunther Elcroy goes up to legate. Gunther Elcroy was appointed legate and assumed command of the Metropolitan Legion. Big things for humans. The triumph of equality. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Equality greater than or equal to 8. It is an 8. And the Archnean tyranny has not been triggered. You can't help but notice the over-the-top attire of the aide who's offering you a folder. Courtiers are the only ones who wear silk scarves and precious jewelry these days. People rarely display their wealth when they're simply out and about. There have been numerous attacks on the wealthy, but not with the goal of robbing them. The attackers rip the clothes and jewelry from their victims simply to throw them into a ditch. The Empire is gripped with a heretofore unseen contempt for wealth. The priests of the new faith preach for their flock to renounce their worldly possessions in order to better sympathize with those in need. That way, everyone can become truly equal. According to them, striving after riches in the mortal realm leads people away from the path to salvation in the hereafter. Expensive clothes are now considered gauche and offensive. Well-off citizens, including Archneans, no longer feel safe on the streets of Eterna. The poor, on the other hand, act like they own the city now that the new faith clergy supports them. They feel righteous in their belief that being free from the vice of worldly trappings gives them the moral high ground. The lesser quorums have sided with the new believers and agreed to provide the city's paupers with everything they might need. The recently introduced land tax targets the richest Archneans with expansive estates, and the money goes to various shelters and almshouses. That new tax has led to outrage among Archneans and humans who rent Archnean land for their production facilities. The Dean of the Imperial College, Stuart Condorcet, has already requested that you abolish the tax. According to him, Archnean landowners aren't the ones who truly shoulder this burden. The humans who work there actually bear the brunt of it. The Dean's petition stated that in addition to Archneans, idlers from the impoverished now parasitize the hard labor of the common estate, whose spine is about to break. Condorcet insisted that the earnings of industrialists must be invested in supporting and developing the economy and production, not fed to lazy beggars. Apparently, a truly equal society should be about creating equal opportunities and fair competition. Instead, the new believers enforce material equality, but they do so at the expense of those who produce all the goods. The priests are ruining the empire by popularizing poverty and idleness. However, you also know the opinion of the new believers. They claim that support for the destitute is necessary so that everyone can find the path to the twins without thinking about a crust of bread or a roof over their heads. Thousands of poor people across the empire have neither shelter nor sustenance, while the wealthy only think about amassing even more riches when they have enough as it is. As it stands, beggars are blinded by hunger and the rich are blinded by gold, and in their blindness neither of them seek the true light of the shining pillar. Therefore, the priests of the new faith believe it is every person's duty to renounce excess and share their goods with their neighbor, as the elder shares his love with all. Thus there shall be neither rich nor poor, equality will come, and all shall gain sight and turn their gaze to the peak. The new believers want to build communes for the suffering, where everyone can eat a good meal, escape from the cold, and finally start connecting with the gods. The construction and maintenance of these communes will demand a large portion of the Archduke's taxes collected by the lesser quorums. Neither the quorum's Archnean tribunes nor the wealthy industrialists led by Professor Condorcet would ever approve of such a project, but the new believers have too much sway with the general populace, so a disagreement in the capital's quorum building could easily spill out onto the city streets, drowning Eterna in riots. In order to avoid any unnecessary upheaval, the representatives of the lesser quorum asks you to make this decision at your sole discretion. Many people throughout the Empire still go hungry every day, providing for them, righting the wrong caused by inequality, helping them find their way to the twins. It's a noble cause. If you refuse to support it, the new believers will take it as a betrayal and proof that you don't care about your poorest subjects. That said, it would be fair to keep infringing on Archnean rights. And are you certain that the industrialists and farmers who work on Archnean land won't perish under the yoke of the new tax? Maybe abolishing it would be a better idea, so that the poor could seek salvation through suffering and labor, as was the will of Saint Isotaeus. Oof. The only thing I can do in this case is side with the new believers, which will bring the great houses down by 2, the distinguished Archneans by 2, the new faith clergy will go up by 3, and the commoners will go down by 1. Equality will go up to 9, love will go up to 10. If I had the sanity, I could have denied the new believers. That would have caused the new faith clergy to go down by 2. Rebellion would have also went down by 1. And I could have abolished the new tax. You will not support the creation of communes and will abolish the taxes used to support the poor. The new faith clergy would have went down by 3. Commoners would have went up by 2. Equality would have went down by 2. Rebellion would have went down by 1, oddly enough. So, yeah, I'm gonna side with the new believers. You have your aide write out the decree. On behalf of House Tempest, you order the creation of urban communes for the poor. The lesser quorums will assume the obligation of funding them. Everyone in need throughout the Empire will be provided with shelter, food, and all of the essentials. Nothing should distract your subjects from finding their way to the twins. There will be no more injustice or oppression under your reign. You will establish a new world order, one where all people are equal in all things. All right. Getting real close to maxed out equality, which is probably going to raise the rebellion now that I think about it. Revolt of the Great Houses. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Great House loyalty less than or equal to 0, and it's 0. You gave up trying to fall asleep a long time ago. Abandoning that fruitless endeavor, you moved to your study, but the books can't hold your attention. You keep thinking about Marcius Millanatus. At his fervent insistence, you interrupted your journey, returning to Eterna. Now your advisor's worrisome premonitions are ringing in your head like a bell. Stacks of gray smoke rise outside your window. Muffled screams reach you from somewhere far away. Servants are whispering in the hallway. One of them surreptitiously peeks into the study. You stand up, and your anxiety walks you over to the balcony from which you can see the city in distress. Petrified, you tighten your white-knuckled grasp on the balustrade. The cold wind carries shouting and soot from the west. There's a riot underway in the new noble suburbs. The Archneans are burning the blue books, the genealogical records of the human nobles. You see silver flashes in the evening. Twilight. Blood has been shed. Someone has died today. You take a spyglass from your servant's shaking hands and try to get a better look at these events as they unfold. Pyres burn on the cobblestone. Tomes bound in blue velvet char and turn black, as if withering in agony. A corpulent nobleman in tattered clothes clutches his book to his chest. A moment later, he is pushed into the pyre himself. You can't hear his scream. Hearing footsteps, you return to the study where the Privy Councilor is already waiting for you. This is rebellion, Your Highness. The great houses no longer rely on the Tempests and no longer hope that the Imperial line will protect their interests. They have unleashed their anger upon the humans from whom they deem unworthy of noble rank. The rebels claim that several years at the college will not make a nobleman of someone whose back still remembers the lash. Convinced that they bear responsibility for their ancestors' legacy, they have sworn to protect the Archnean Empire without waiting for any command or permission from the Tempests. The Archnean aristocracy is not as strong as it once was. They're ravishing the city now, sure, but there are only a handful of these rebels. The secret chancellor can put an end to this disturbance swiftly and quietly, unless you would prefer to call upon your legion to crush the rebellion and send a message. You weigh your options. Perhaps it would be wise not to intervene at all, but simply allow the great houses to finish what they began and give them time to cool off. After all, the rebels are not acting directly against the Tempest's power, they are merely venting their fury on human nobility. Marcius watches you expectantly. Okay, so we can deal with the problem quietly, and if I do that, the game will be over. So there's that. If I use force, I can't use force. Because if I use force, the rebellion is going to go up to 10. And that's it. And so I'm screwed no matter what. So I'm going to try to use force to deal with the problem. Because that's really all I can do. My hope is that if I use force to deal with the problem, this will trigger the equality event with the pinnacle of equality, and then I can bring the rebellion down after that. Also, I will say that is bullshit that it's 2 no matter what. Like, I would think that it would allow me to turn around and at least, get it to 1 or something like that. But for it to be the same thing as dealing with the problem quietly, there's no difference other than flavor text, really. But okay, use force to deal with the problem. The revolt of the great houses. You order the legion to take to the streets and put an end to the rioting. The Archnean aristocracy has forgotten the strength of the Tempests. It's high time they were reminded of it. I'll see to it, Your Highness. The Privy Councillor bows and leaves quickly. Finally, alone, you listen to the noise and screaming outside. It takes a while for it to die down. You don't risk appearing on the balcony again. Just before dawn, Marcius returns. His eyes are sunken, the shadows under them deep and black. This night has taken a great toll on him. The rebellion has been put down, Your Highness. The Legion has moved into the city and taken control of the blocks where the rioting was taking place. The instigators have been arrested, and the other perpetrators are under the Secret Chancellery's surveillance. You thank the Privy Councillor, but Marcius shakes his head in sorrow. I'd like to speak candidly now, Your Highness. Though this night is finally behind us, the consequences of today's actions will still be dire. The distinguished Archneans consider you a traitor to your own people. You sent in the Legion to spill blue blood. It is a great blow to the Archnean service aristocracy's faith in you. The great houses have long considered the Tempests their enemy, and now their loyalty is gone forever. Expect conspiracies and secret societies, but rest assured that my department is well equipped to deal with them. Well, they haven't been well equipped thus far. We can keep everything under control, but only as long as other estates do not join the great houses. Should that happen, a civil war will be inevitable. You nod and bite your lip. You thank Marcius for everything he has done for you and the Empire this night. He leaves with a courteous bow. You stay in your study for a long time, listening to the silence that precedes the dawn of a new day. Alright, like I said, the Distinguished Archneans goes down to 7. Equality goes up to 10, but Rebellion also goes up to 10. I don't know which one is going to trigger first. If Rebellion triggers first, that's it. If Equality triggers first, maybe I can get something out of this and try to bring it down to 9 or 8. I have a sneaky suspicion that's not going to be the case, because in the last thing that we did when we got to 10, I think Rebellion went up. So let's see. And Rebellion triggers first. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Panting, you wrench yourself free from the grip of a nightmare, only to find yourself in a nightmare's reality. Your fingers dig into the armrest of the chair where you had dozed, your heart pounding violently against your ribs, sweat soaking your clothing. Your sword lies across your lap. A wave of rage and disappointment surges within your blood, overwhelming you with 1,000 voices. Your ancestors cry out that you have lost, you failed them, you've driven the empire to the brink of ruin. Shaking your head, you brush aside the clamorous chorus and reread the letter clenched in your fist. Jerian, there's an uprising in Anazet. The city hall, the walls, and the arsenal have fallen. The city is ablaze, filled with death. I've received similar reports from Mystinia, Illyria, Fiona, and other provinces. The time for words has passed. The empire is fractured. It is dying in agony. We have lost. With the remnants of the forces still loyal to me, I will attempt to reclaim Anazet. Then I will make my way toward the northern provinces. I hope to see you there. Your uncle, Gaius Tempest. You hear the sound of footsteps from beyond the door. Whoever they belong to, there's no doubt that they are coming after you. Your fingers tighten on the hilt of your sword, but unlike Gaius, you have no strength left to continue the fight. Your ancestors fall silent at last, leaving you alone in the empty darkness. And that's it. The finale is ruin. Fall of the Empire. The Empire was destroyed by civil strife. Someone pushes an iron barrel through the gap under the door just as the sunspot on the wall reaches the 5th stone. The next round will be at the 19th, and another when the spot crawls as far as the door. You can only see a small gray patch of sky through the barred window. Drops fall slowly from the stone ceiling. Beyond these walls, gunshots echo. Soldiers run. Someone is fighting someone, marching with flags unfurled, scheming, dreaming of triumph. You have no part in any of it. Your fight is over, and you lost. You are merely a prisoner, one of thousands. You no longer have the power to change anything. War thunders across the empire. Estates are destroying one another. The bloody millstones roll across the smoke-choked lands, grinding names, titles, traditions, and hopes to dust. Just the other day, the entire world bent to your will. Today, you have no power over anything, not even your own life. But while you still have time and a little bit of ink, you must complete the one thing left within your grasp, your story. You sit down at the rickety desk, take up the blunt quill pen, and open the book.
This is it. Your life is over. You lived it. You remember. Every day you spent in this world echoes within you. Nevertheless, those days are gone. And in the end, there's just you. Your book. And a couple of pages left to write.
The last page. You've been here before this very book. You pored over its pages, tried to make sense of the events you had lived through, to discern the essence of your story, to see whether you had missed what truly mattered. You started the book and reached its end, but have you grasped the elusive thread that binds your scattered days into a destiny? You are alone. There's no one beside you, neither man nor God. No one will judge you, and your words will change nothing. But you are the only one who can answer this question. What was the meaning of your life? I'm gonna say it was changing the world. I wanted to try to change the world, and yeah, there it was. And there's your answer. The book has changed nothing, never shaking your certainty. You always knew that you existed to transform the world. You came into it to expand its boundaries, to change it so that tomorrow will be different from today, so that your ideas will be made flesh and become reality. In reading the book of your life, you have only confirmed this. A jumble of days and memories will not alter your purpose. You know who you are. It matters not what lies ahead. You will always challenge rules and conventions. The world will never be the same after you're done with it, within this book and beyond it, until the very end, until the period at the end of the last sentence. The Fate of the Tempests, a history of the blessed Archaean Empire during the reign of Emperor Uther II and his heirs, by Count Elmerse, compiled in the year 1150. Humbly placing my trust in the twin gods who will not let me stray from the truth, I now begin the final chapter of my work. The political reforms that Prince Jerian attempted to implement during his brief time at the pinnacle of power soon faded and lost their significance. The transformation of the realm was swept away by the whirlwind of turmoil that came and engulfed us all. None of these endeavors took root or bore fruit, for no sapling can survive when the ground beneath it is ablaze. Uther Tempest II never left the summer palace for the rest of his days, occupying himself only with his garden and the birds that were so dear to his heart. And this solitude did the emperor good. Uther spent his final days in heartfelt conversations with his friend Gnaeus Matthias, and despite the bleak news from the capital, he remained calm and happy. But for all his serenity, Uther's body weakened day by day, and he soon found himself confined to his bed. Gnaeus Matthias sat by the bedside of his fading friend, holding his hand and praying to the divine brothers until the emperor drew his last breath. After Jerian's disappearance, Empress Servilia Tempest attempted to rally the Archaeans loyal to the ruling dynasty, but too few were willing to join her cause. Before long, Servilia Tempest was forced to leave the capital and was lost without a trace in the chaos of the Great War. During the years of bloodshed, rebels executed countless Archaean ladies, believing each one to be the missing Servilia Tempest. It remains unknown whether the real empress was among them. Despite Cornelius Tempest's long absence from the court, his name was not forgotten. Many human nobles, as well as distinguished Archaeans, often spoke about Cornelius's reforms and called for the emperor's brother to be reinstated as the great chancellor. On the eve of the Millennial Senate, Cornelius's old allies set out for Constanza. They hoped to bring him back to the capital and make him the new head of the so-called Progressive Party. However, Cornelius refused to grant an audience to his former comrades. His servant did not even greet the delegation. Cornelius Tempest remained an indifferent witness to the upheavals unfolding in the empire. Nothing that happened in the years to come compelled him to return to politics or even leave his estate. His current circumstances are unknown to me. As the overseer of Magra, Gaius Tempest attempted to quell the uprising that had broken out in the province. He led his legion to the walls of Anazet and ordered his soldiers to take the city by storm. However, the rebels managed to repel the assault and capture the overseer when he got past the city walls. Gaius Tempest spent more than a year as the rebels' prisoner. He was sentenced to true death by the people's tribunal and hanged before a large crowd. Yet the body left hanging in the city square mysteriously disappeared the following morning, giving rise to rumors of Gaius' resurrection and spawning numerous impostors who later claimed to be the miraculously intact Tempest. Prince Flavius was not undone by the chaos of the Great War. On the contrary, in the wake of Jerian and Gaius Tempest's deaths, the young heir gathered his supporters, left the capital, and established a base of operation in Pragos, Fiona's principal city. There, Flavius grew close with one of the magisters of the Order of the Inquisition, Father Ulrich, who helped him proclaim the founding of a new empire, the Empire of Will. With his first decree, Emperor Flavius demolished the dogma of the lots, dividing his subjects into only two classes, servants and masters. Nobles of the spirit, as Flavius Tempest called his estate of masters, were the people who could prove their need for freedom and their unquenchable thirst for power. In this, His Majesty made no distinction between the Archaeans and humans or between former nobles and commoners. All that mattered to Flavius Tempus was the will and passion of his subjects. Such a flagrant violation of the established order provoked predictable protests among the citizens of Fiona, but Emperor Flavius and Father Ulrich squashed the provincial revolt with ease. What followed was an unprecedented rite of sacrament using the collar, which shattered the people's will once and for all. Emperor Flavius didn't turn his gaze to the other rebellious provinces once Fiona was brought to heel, as the insurgents had feared. Instead, His Majesty challenged the gods themselves and ordered his army to prepare for a military campaign to conquer the peak of the Shining Pillar. As I write these lines, the Empire awaits the consequences of this audacious undertaking with dread. Ferdinand Albert remained neutral during the Great War, aligning himself with neither of the warring factions. He lived a quiet life as a practicing physician, saving humans and Archneans regardless of which side they fought for. However, aiding the rebels did not save Ferdinand from their vengeance. Members of the Last Straw killed him for his ties to the Tempests, and his estate was looted and set fire. Lucrezia Ogriff never became Prince Jerian's wife, instead devoting the rest of her life to serving the twins. Many offered to wed the scion of the great house Ogriff, but Lucrezia remained steadfast, never going back on her decision, her word, or her faith. Having supplemented her talents with religious zeal, Lucrezia quickly rose to the church hierarchy and reached the rank of Great Inquisitor. No woman before her had been honored with such a high office. In that position, Lucrezia restored the order to its former glory and still battles heretics and apostates who've strayed from the dogma of the old faith. The mysterious woman named Agatha, who spent some time with Prince Jerian, soon vanished from the palace. She now cares for the incurably ill and the dying in Eternus almshouses. Agatha's name is attached to many wondrous tales. One tells of how the dying people whose hands she holds ascend straight to the peak of the Shining Pillar, bathed in a golden glow. Another insists that her kiss can replace both bread and water for the afflicted. When Gaius Tempest was captured by the rebels, his betrothed, Camilla Monroe, set out to rescue him immediately. Gathering an army of distinguished Archneans and her family's vassals, she attempted to retake Anazet. When that failed, Camille bribed Gaius's guards and planned his escape. However, her betrothed was hanged the day before he was set to flee his prison. Camille was never able to move on. She revived the Order of the Blood and declared war on all humanity. She drowned her pain and insatiable thirst for vengeance in human blood, ruthlessly punishing rebels and annihilating the cities that had sided with them. Camille Monroe met her true death when she dueled a woman named Sophia, the leader of the rebels. This woman seemed to be a reflection of Camille herself, yet she fought on the opposite side, waging an unrelenting war against the Archneans. With the onset of the Great War, Agorius Monroe was forced to take responsibility for the future of the entire Archnean people. His home province of Monia became a sanctuary for all Archneans who fled the chaos and bloodshed that engulfed the empire once most of the Tempests were dead. Agorius managed to rally the Archneans and unite their forces to fight the People's Militia as well as other rebel detachments. But, despite the fact that the Archduke's main enemies were humans, he showed far greater cruelty towards those Archneans who had betrayed their blood and dared to fight on the opposing side. Once a year, Agorius Monroe personally compiles prescription lists declaring entire families enemies of the Archnean peoples. Archneans accused of treason are stripped of their lands, their family crypts are destroyed, and they themselves are put to death, bleeding out on roadside posts. When the Great War begun, Lucius Diamant attempted to act as an intermediary between the Archean and human nobility, hoping to resolve the conflict between the two races and put an end to the bloodshed. But Lucius's proposals, like Lucius himself, proved alien to both humans and Archeans. No one was willing to trust the enemy or go against their own interests in search of compromise. In the end, Lucius Diamant was killed during a prolonged series of negotiations. He was not resurrected. Neither Arachnians nor humans claimed responsibility for his death, instead using it as yet another pretext for mutual accusations and hatred. During the Great War, Terenthi's Ogryph traveled to Pragos to court the last surviving Tempest, Prince Flavius. There, he continued to preach, ever faithful to his duty as pontifex. He tirelessly instructed the young heir in his obligations to the twins and the Empire, but found little understanding. Marcius Milanatus joined Agorius Monroe's court, where, swearing allegiance to the Arachnian Republic, he persuaded his brother Tarquinius to offer military support to the alliance. Marcius continues to serve the Republic as privy councilor, but it is said he has become far more ruthless towards humans and no longer stops at measures he would have once avoided. As soon as the Great War broke out, Avidius Lucilius resigned as great strategist and left the council, signing a mission of utmost importance that he claimed he was personally obligated to carry out. Gathering a small troop of veterans loyal to him, Lucilius set sail for the northern islands. For centuries, all untrustworthy nobles had been exiled there, and it was there Ovidius assured them that the most terrible conspiracies was brewing, and the rebels' main forces were gathering. According to Lucilius's own regular reports over the course of his campaign, he succeeded in defeating 3 armies of rebels numbering in the thousands, and even a squad of monstrous Skryads preparing to invade the mainland. He is bullshitting. However, his martial exploits did not prevent Lucilius from setting up a rich estate on the northern islands, which, as luck would have it, he had purchased and had sown with frost-resistant vineyards long before the expedition. With Emperor Uther's death, Gnaeus Matthias withdrew from politics and left the court. He renounced his title, traded his arms and armor for a monk's habit, and declared that neither the sword nor the Senate's debates could remake the empire until the very foundation of the world was transformed. Gnaeus went to Magra, where he now preaches at the Silver Tree, calling upon humans and Arachnians alike to cast off the shackles of their lot, rank, name, and lineage. He extols universal equality and union with divine grace. According to Matthias, only by discarding all distinctions and dissolving in the love of the elder can the world be reborn, and each of us find salvation. In the last chapter of my treatise, I must speak of the Church, for it shapes the integrity of our world and the destiny of every soul on its path to the shining pillar. The last decades have been a time of terrible ordeals for all true believers. An implacable war of creeds consumed both the empire and the souls of its subjects, a struggle between the old and the new faith that inevitably ended in blood and fire. The warring sides show neither justice nor mercy toward one another. Ancient temples crumble, the empires drowning in blood. Ancient temples crumble to dust, and no one can halt the deadly storm. Thousands of priests perish at the hands of their own parishioners, while tens of thousands of lay people burn at the stake, accused of apostasy. This war is endless, and no one knows whether words will ever prevail over steel. I should set down my pen here, but please indulge me one last reflection about young Flavius, the last of our primates. To most servants of the church, Flavius is a blasphemer and a traitor to the true faith. But there are also those who call him a tool of the twins. They consider his existence a punishment for our disobedience. According to them, only by accepting the suffering inflicted by the primate can we appease the wrath of the gods. And thus my work is finished. But I will always pray to the divine brothers that history may continue its course, that the march of Arachnians and humans upon this world may never cease, and that the shining pillar may tower above us all for eternity. Count El Mercy, Anazet Outskirts, year 1150. All right, so yeah, there we are. We are at the end of the life and suffering of Prince Jerian, and it was an unfortunate end. if I'm not mistaken, I think the last time I played The Life and Suffering of Sir Bronte, well, I did the religious side of things, and I actually managed to turn around and get a relatively good ending. I want to say when I played as like a noble and then or a lawyer, then it didn't work out too well or whatnot. But so it's kind of not surprising to me that I turned around and failed this time around. And even when I cheated on my side playthrough, I failed as well. But yeah, this has been a great game. I think this game narratively it's kind of strange to me, because there are moments that I really like, and then there are moments where I'm just like, that was an interesting choice. And I think my main problem is like just Prince Jerian's disposition, period, because like, again, this burden is kind of placed upon him. There's this belief that he's going to be the ruler and such like that, yet the people that believe in him don't really do anything in order to actually try to raise him. Like, sure, you see that with Cornelius, like he wants him to train and all these different things or whatnot, but then as soon as he becomes a Tempest, you rarely hear from him after that. Like, he doesn't ever really step in or really try to put you in a position of power. The same thing with your father. Like, he doesn't really do anything to actually try and put you in power and to try and make sure that you're going to be successful and such. It's just, you kind of just left there, to kind of just figure things out. And I also found it very strange that like you yourself don't you don't tend to do politics except when it's absolutely necessary or what. And that just seems like a very odd choice. It's not till chapter 3 until you get the title of Great Censor, but even then it only comes about because the empire is in turmoil and they need somebody to step up, which if you're not able to turn around and get the approval from the family, then that turns into a whole nother thing. So it seems like just such a weird choice, and it seems like a kind of self-defeating thing that the Tempests would do. And I understand that they have the pride, there's the Arachne and stuff and things like that, but I would also think that the blood tie that they have would compel them to turn around and make sure that their family is secured. But it seems like, and again, that's kind of a narrative thing too, and I understand that, but it seems like the Tempest's blood, or just the Arachneans' blood in general, put them in conflicting manners or whatnot. I mean, I don't expect for them to be a hive mind, but I also don't expect for one Tempest's blood to completely override everybody else unless they are just ridiculously powerful. I can understand like I think it was Gaius Tempest's blood, long ago, who basically became Caesar or whatnot. I completely expect his blood to kind of overpower others because that was his whole thing. Whereas like the other ones, like Eric, like sure, he was the pious, but he just did what he had to do because there was no other choice, or at least he felt like there was no other choice. But like, this permeates, I guess, throughout the entire family, and I don't really understand how like the blood conflicts each other but also is present in everybody. So it's just kind of a strange thing, and it's just strange decisions that I kind of felt was made entirely throughout the first and second chapter. Like the second chapter, I don't know, there were parts in it that I kind of understood, you kind of building up things and stuff like that, but I guess also like I don't know, I just have an issue, I guess, with the second chapter more than anything, because like in The Life and Suffering of Sir Bronte, and I know that there were people in the comment section that talked about that, but like in The Life and Suffering of Sir Bronte, you had 3 clear routes that you could kind of go about. You had the law route, you had the religious route, and you had more of the like commoner route where you're trying to help the poor and stuff like that. And usually within those routes, I believe you had like 2 choices within. Like if you took the noble route, you can either side with the nobles of the Arachnean blood, or you can side with the humans more so. Same way with the rebellion side. If you side with the rebellion side, you can side with them, I think, more so to be with the rebellion and more so to kind of not be with the rebellion, but just kind of guide it or whatnot. And then the same way with the church side, you had the new believers and the old believers, and that was the most clearest of them all. And to me, it was the best written of all of them too, because again, I had my old beef with the whole invincible thing for quite some time, but again, all understandable and whatnot. But with the life and suffering of Prince Jerian, like, it's not really that clear. I guess, like, you can say that your choices are going to be whether you side more with the Archnians or whether you side more with the humans. And even within those, like, it's what laws do you choose? Do you choose to be more on the equality side? Do you choose to be more on the progress side? Do you choose to be more on the old and new faith side? Like, these are very different things. And then even within those, they're very conflicting things, because you have moments where both the old faith and the new faith do things that's contradictory to themselves or whatnot. Granted, it's because they want to hold on to power, but it's still kind of contradictory, so it makes it very hard to kind of focus on things. And again, it's just, when it comes to Prince Jerian himself, like, I don't know, like, it's just hard for me to kind of conceptualize him and to kind of understand who he is, because while you are making choices with him, you kind of just guide it along. Like, you see that a lot of times in the chapters where it's just like you walk in and this thing happened, and it's just like you had no idea nothing happened. You have no idea that anything ever happens. It just kind of happens. And that to me was like the worst thing about everything with Prince Jerian. Like, I really like the you working against the Archnians, or working with the humans, or working with the Archnians or whatever. I really do like that aspect of it, but I utterly hate the way that Prince Jerian is just kind of presented as this, I just show up and I exist. I'm just kind of walking around. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing 9 times out of 10. And that kind of just really ruffles my feathers or whatnot. That's the only thing I have an issue with. And it might change in different playthroughs or whatnot. Maybe in some of the other pathways, it might turn around and, you seem to be more, knowledgeable about certain things or whatnot. But for the most part, I just felt like Prince Jerian was just kind of going around being like, oh, somebody asked me about this thing I didn't know about. Like, there was a whole situation where, like, he didn't know the thing about his ancestors on the coin. You spent the entirety of your, young life learning about things and stuff like that. I understand it if you would have played hooky and went out and did other things, but if I turned around and spent all that time learning stuff with Cornelius, why don't I know these things? And it's the same way with my wife and stuff like that. If I spent all my time being loyal to my family, I would think Servilia might bring this up, not just bring it up at the last second. So it's a lot of gaps, and it's a lot of strange decisions. And I guess I can kind of understand it, because it presents you with a conflict, and you're just kind of unaware on how this is going to go or how it's going to, work out. But it's also just like, it's kind of random. And I think a lot of stuff just kind of felt random. So, I mean, overall, I do think it's a really good game. And this is another situation where it's like, despite my gripes, I really do like the world of the life and suffering. It is a wonderful world. It's a very interesting world, especially this whole thing with the Archnians and the mask, and them tapping into their ancestors and they just kind of take over. That's weird as shit. And then of course there's also the religious aspect of it. That's very interesting and things like that. But I also do feel like this is kind of, once again, a situation where, as much as I like the life and suffering world, I don't know how I feel about the game proper. I think the one thing, ironically enough, that I do feel about this game is that I think the life and suffering of Sir Bronte is just better, because, like, it's more focused, I guess you could say. Whereas the life and suffering of Prince Jerian is just, you just kind of show up, and then whatever happens kind of happens, and you can't really, it's kind of, at least for me, it seemed like it was kind of hard to see where you were going and what mattered and who I need to kind of be around and stuff like that, but also just like why people made certain decisions. There are a lot of dumb decisions that people made in this, and I understand pride and stuff like that, but a lot of this just seems really dumb, but again, I still like the game. I really do like the game, and I'm definitely going to play it some more. I'm actually kind of happy because now that I'm at the end of it, then I can turn around and play my little cheat stuff on the side and just be done with it. And now that I actually, kind of know certain things, I'll actually be paying attention and not worried about spoilers and such. But yeah, as far as like, again, if I had to choose between the life and suffering of Prince Jerian or Sobrante, I would ironically take Sobrante. Like, I do appreciate the lore in this so much more, but it also just seems like I was just being strung along a lot of times, or I just showed up and that was the end of it. But either way, that's my rant for the end of this. And of course, if you guys want me to play more of this, I will play more. I'm not sure how I would do it, because I would have to go back and play through all these chapters again, and of course I would have to go through the new pathways, etc., etc. Not a huge problem or anything like that. I did that with the life and suffering of Sobrante. I played through, I think, all 3 pathways or whatnot. I didn't play both sides of each pathway, but I did play through each individual pathway, I guess you could say. But yeah, like, I can do the same thing with this. I can be a hardline Arknian guy, or I can turn around and be a hardline human guy, or whatever. I think those are pretty much the only the only pathways I can really think of. I'm sure there's some intricacies in there somewhere, but I've already said in the comment section, I really do want to do a Arknian tyranny kind of playthrough or whatnot the next time around. But again, it's up to you guys. Just let me know how you feel about it, and we can go from there. I do have some other games planned as well. As far as whether this will be the next thing that I play, probably not. At the very least, I want to drop another video of another game I wanted to play for a while, and the next playthrough will come after that. I might put up a poll or something like that, and let you guys decide which would be my next pathway. Whether you want me to kind of finish this, where I can go back and maybe look at some of the choices that I made to see if I can kind of undo certain things. I think the real crux kind of came when I made the decision with what's her name, Camille. I think that decision pretty much sealed my fate, and once I turned around and did that, it kind of screwed up everything from that point on, because I didn't have the power to turn around and use to give equal rights to everyone. I did the thing with the humans, but I wasn't able to do it for the Arknians, where I turned around and they would have to be subject to everybody or whatnot. So I think that will be the crux. So you would have that choice of whether I go back to that point and try to change things and see if I can fix it, or if we just start a new playthrough and I do a straight up Arknian supremacist playthrough or whatnot. So but yeah, we'll go from there. But again, that's my rant. I do apologize for the long-winded feelings that I had. I had been kind of feeling those feelings for a while, and again, I don't want anyone to think that I don't like this game. I really do like this game. I wouldn't have played it this long if I didn't like it. But again, it was just some weird choices that I felt like. But I'm still looking forward to the future of the life and suffering, and I'm really looking forward to the different playthroughs that I have on the side, and hopefully beating it too in the process. So if you like the video, like the video. If you want more content like this, subscribe. I have a lot of things on the channel, and I will have many other things in the future. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So once again, I would like to thank everyone who has watched this. There were a lot of people that turned around and watched this, and I really wasn't expecting this. The current first video for the life and suffering of Prince Jerian is one of the biggest ones on my channel. It's one of the fastest growing videos on my channel, so I really do appreciate it, and I really do appreciate all the people that have come in and welcome. And I will try to endeavor to do content more consistently, and maybe do some other side things as well. I was thinking about doing some more choice of games. I even had a request to read or play I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, I think that's how it's named. And that's something that I've actually wanted to play on the side, but it's an old game. it is a very, very old game. I don't even know how I would be able to play it. I would have to download some stuff and etc, etc. And I think there's also a book to it too, so I guess in theory I could just read the book, but that request was made. So I do also want to do some other things like that where I'm just maybe just plainly reading for a long period of time. I'm kind of getting used to the long form reading as opposed to the just kind of doing little snips of an hour or two and stuff like that. I have one video is like 5 hours, so yeah. But anywho, I'm gonna end it there. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.